What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to TPUSA Live. We got a fantastic live stream for you. I'm Jon Root, and this lady is
Isabel Brown. It is almost the weekend. We are so excited. We actually weren't really here. Most people were at home yesterday for Veterans Day, so I kind of feel like we have 2 weekends this week. It's kind of a blessing, but it did definitely throw me for a loop. But the good news is we're spending our Friday with you guys today. We've got a great show prepared for you.
Yeah, we always started with Human Events Daily with Jack Posobiec. He's always been the place to go for everything Kyle Rittenhouse. So he's going to break down how the prosecution in that trial was tampering with evidence, also covering how it's basically just turned into a political show trial.
They actually are really going after our friend Drew Hernandez really hard from the prosecution there, which is so sad because he's taking it upon himself to do the work that the mainstream media has just refused to do for the last 2 years when it comes to these riots and the violence that we've been seeing.
And then he's also going to cover FBI leaks the Project Veritas communications with lawyer when it came to the New York Times article. Spicy stuff. He's covering the Scottsdale School Board. There's basically a dossier about parents and their information. If they're pushing back against CRT, there's addresses, there's photos.
Even social security numbers I've been reading. This whole thing is absolutely insane, but of course, it's the parents who are the domestic terrorists when it comes to this stuff.
And we're actually going to double dip on some of these topics too. So Jack Posobiec's going to join us virtually on the couch here, and he's going to talk about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and then I can't wait to hear his take about Drew Hernandez, about the prosecution, the way the judges handled this situation, and a little bit more information if he really does believe this is a political show trial.
Well, if you're unlike me and you don't spend your time with your eyes glued to watching this trial like reality television, yes, I'm a huge legal nerd. I think it's going to be a really good breakdown just to understand everything that's happened so far, and as we head into closing arguments for the trial on Monday, what we can expect from both the prosecution and the defense.
And along with Jack, we're going to have Isabel Brown there. You're going to be there?
Yes, I will be
host
here.
of On the Front
Hanging out with you guys.
Freedom Siege, she does it all. Also the producer of the Charlie Kirk podcast. The Charlie Kirk Show is going to be here, Connor Clegg. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll also break down a little bit more about that Scottsdale School Board story and then what LeBron James had to say about Kyle Rittenhouse. He got dunked on online. I can't wait to go.
And I'm glad that he did, because can I just say there is no one worse at fake crying than LeBron James. And it just totally reinforces that he is not the GOAT. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. So that's all I have to say.
Isabel Brown? Let's go. I'm all over that. Coming up right after that is The Spillover. That's our weekly show on Friday. Alex Clark, she has an amazing guest. So she's going to sit down with former U.S. Navy SEAL and American hero Robert J. O'Neill.
And if you don't know who that is, he was actually a member of the elite SEAL Team 6 who was the one who held the gun, pulled the trigger, and shot the bullet that killed Osama Bin Laden. He has an absolutely incredible story. I've listened to it already as a podcast version, and you'll definitely want to tune in.
Yeah, that's what's great about The Spillover, too. She has some amazing guests, and actually, Spotify, they tried taking down the second episode of The Spillover, too.
They did. Just this week, Alex got an email saying that her episode with Abigail Shrier, who's the author of Irreversible Damage, what's happening with this transgender craze really seducing teenage girls in our country, they took that episode down because it went against their terms and conditions of a good community, I guess. But within just 2 hours, so many members of the cute conservatives community, that's fans of politics and The Spillover, had reached out to Spotify directly that they sent a new email saying, oops, it was a glitch and we're going to reinstate your episode. So thank you guys if you helped to participate in getting that episode put back up.
Sure, Spotify. Yeah, for sure. But good work by those cute conservatives. And that shows that you can make a difference. Right after that, you're going to get some more Alex Clark in the newest episode of Politics. She'll tell you why she loves Nicole Kidman. Little I Love Lucy connection there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Why they should defund camera crying. She says people that cry on selfie videos, got to defund.
Of course, naturally.
Freak of the Week and so much more. But before we head into Human Events Daily with Jack Posobiec, what's going on this weekend?
I will be largely laying on my couch because my kidney does not work, which is very fun, and vacuuming my apartment. So really lively, exciting weekend for Isabel. What about you, Jon?
That sounds wild. I'm going to get a little wilder. Shocker. I'm going to play some sports, and I'm going to watch some sports.
Do you golf really every single weekend?
I have started to golf every weekend.
Has there been a weekend since like July that you haven't golfed?
2 weekends.
That's pretty impressive, I have to say.
That's what happens.
You're going to have to teach me because all I've ever done is mini golf.
I'm happy to.
We should do it.
Yeah, let's get you out the mini golf course. Forget that windmill hole. Let's get you out to some real holes, 18 of them. But coming up next, we've got Human Events Daily with Jack Posobiec, brought to you by First Liberty.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, and we're going to get right into it. Right off the bat, the Rittenhouse prosecutors have been caught tampering with photographic evidence. We'll explain all of it next. Is this Kyle Rittenhouse trial a political show trial, like something out of the Soviet Union? Third, the FBI has leaked Project Veritas's private and privileged communications with their lawyer to the New York Times. And then finally, the Scottsdale School Board apparently made a private dossier on parents who oppose critical race theory. All this and more ahead, Human Events Daily. The prosecutors have been caught by Human Events Daily of tampering with evidence, a photograph, and then presenting it as evidence to the jury. What do I mean by this? Well, they're talking about photographic enhancement using a process known as interpolation. This is also what's called on your television set, if you're using 4K or something else, as true motion. This is a disgusting and horrific practice that personally I can't stand. And whenever I see a TV, I go and turn it off immediately because it makes your picture look like crap. It adds things, it distorts images, it just makes it look really, really bad. It's fake. It's not what was originally in the picture. You have created a new picture. Well, what did they do? Do you remember this HD drone footage that they've been sitting on for all this time, that this program was the first one to tell you about? They claim, these prosecutors, that on the footage, there is an image of Kyle Rittenhouse pointing his gun at Joseph Ziminski. Why does that matter? Because if Kyle had done that, that would mean that Kyle provoked the attack, that Kyle had initiated it, and therefore, under Wisconsin law, could lose his right to self-defense because if he provoked it, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go through and let's look. Here's a picture, and I apologize for people who are just listening. Here's a picture of the enhanced photo. It actually looks, if you look at this photo, as if Kyle is standing up and that he's got his gun faced over the hood of the car or the roof of the car. But here's a problem. One of the things that I noticed right away. Kyle Rittenhouse is right-handed. If you look at this photo, the only way that he could be holding his gun that way, holding his AR-15, is if he was left-handed. And if we've seen all the pictures from the entire event and previous photos of Kyle, he's always carrying his AR-15 right-handed. So immediately I realized there was a problem with this photo. Now, let's go back and play the video of Kyle testifying to this exact moment and hear what he said.
Let's play it one more time. Pause. Mr. Rittenhouse, can you see in that video that you raised your weapon and pointed it at someone?
I can't tell.
Let's play it one more time.
Your Honor, he's answered the question.
Well, he says he can't see, so I'm trying to help him see. Go ahead. Pause. Pause the video.
It doesn't look like I raised my rifle. It looks like my shoulder's up, but my rifle is pointed downward.
So do you notice on this video, it wasn't quote unquote enhanced. Now I went back in and took a still frame of that. And then I had a friend, John Curtis, go in and superimpose Kyle's photo on top of it. And you can see exactly what is going on in this picture. Take a look.
It doesn't look like I raised my rifle. It looks like my shoulder's up, but my rifle is pointed downward.
Kyle is not holding his gun left-handed and then pointing it up over the roof of the car. He's holding it right-handed the same way he always does, shoulder up at low ready or low port, we would say in the Navy, with the gun pointed down. But in the evidence, in that quote-unquote enhanced or doctored or interpolated, whatever you want to call it, I would say tampered with photo that Binger and Krause many people call him lunch break, by the way, introduced in this court case. They are presenting it to the jury, and the judge actually allowed it because, quite frankly, Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyers did not do a good job of striking this down. This is horrific. This is a scandal of epic proportions. Binger should be disbarred and probably behind bars. The judge never should have allowed this, and the lawyers should have had a more competent explanation for what went on. It is immediately clear. We looked at this in a couple of hours and figured out exactly what was going on. And guess what? Kyle Rittenhouse was telling the truth. The prosecutors have gotten so desperate. They know they're losing their case. They know they have no evidence. And so they have doctored a photo to try to put this 18-year-old behind bars for the rest of his life. Now, look, I know everyone's upset that we didn't have an episode yesterday. This case has been going absolutely crazy. Go to my Twitter account. You can follow everything in real time. Also, just check out the Rekieta Media, their live stream of the whole thing. They've got an entire team, a panel of lawyers that are going 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day. It's incredible. It's incredible. But what I wanted to do today was, instead of specifically getting into the nitty-gritty, and we just covered in the last segment that the prosecutors have lost this case so badly that they are resorting now to desperation and faking and tampering evidence to try to convict this kid. I want to explain what's really going on here. Listen to this clip of an exchange between Kyle and Binger when Kyle took the stand a few days ago.
Everybody that you shot at that night, you intended to kill, correct?
I didn't intend to kill them. I intended to stop the people who were attacking me.
By killing them.
I did what I had to do to stop the person who was attacking me.
By killing them.
2 of them passed away, but I stopped the threat from attacking me.
By using deadly force.
I used deadly force.
That you knew was going to kill them.
I didn't know if it was going to kill them, but I used deadly force to stop the threat that was attacking me.
You intentionally used deadly force against Joseph Rosenbaum, correct?
Yes.
You intentionally used deadly force against the man who came and tried to kick you in the face,
yes.
Correct? You intentionally used deadly force against Anthony Huber, correct?
Yes.
You intentionally used deadly force against Gage Grosskreutz, correct?
Yes.
With regard to Joseph Rosenbaum, you fired 4 shots at him, correct?
Yes.
You intended to kill him, correct?
I didn't intend to kill him. I intended to stop the person who was attacking me and trying to...
I want to be very clear about what we're seeing here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a political show trial. Regardless of what the verdict is, and I believe Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. And I also believe that that gun charge is ridiculous because if you look at the Wisconsin statute, it's talking about short barrel rifles and shotguns, not the AR-15 that he was using. So throw it out. But understand what's happening here. Prosecutors across the United States are now letting politics color and cloud their minds. They are using political agendas to prosecute people who were acting lawfully. 99% of prosecutors would not have taken this case prior to this year, or prior to last year when it happened. They were caught up in the moment of 2020, and I've called 2020 a domestic color revolution. Took a lot of flack for that, but folks, that's what it was. Kyle Rittenhouse was just considered another political casualty of the events of 2020 because it needed to fit the narrative. In a color revolution, everything that happens, any act of violence, whether in self-defense, right, or out of aggression, must be sanitized. Remember, the media told us that the rioters and the arsonists were the good guys, and that anyone who stood up to oppose them, whether you be police, whether you be a business owner, whether you be David Dorn going to check in a pawn shop that was being broken into, well, we just shouldn't talk about that. And Kyle Rittenhouse, of course, he had to become a villain. Now, you're already seeing a lot of progressives, normies, center-of-left people watching this trial and saying, wait a minute, I didn't understand what the facts of this were. First of all, I thought Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist. That's what everybody told me. And second of all, there's even people saying that they thought Kyle Rittenhouse's quote unquote victims were not white. They thought they were black. That's not what happened. That's not the facts of the case. But if it weren't for the intrepid journalism of people like Richie McGinnis, Drew Hernandez, Elijah Schaffer, BG on the Scene, the people who put themselves in harm's way to get the truth out, we would never know. And Kyle Rittenhouse would lose the rest of his natural life. We are embarking on a very dangerous era of American politics because we are entering a regime change era. We are entering an era of regime politics. Are the American people going to stand up and actually take back their country? We'd like to. I hope they do. But the real question is the regime going to let them? The regime, their allies, their media allies, and now their justice allies who will twist and turn and weaponize, whether it's a DA, the Department of Justice, the FBI, they will use every tool of government power against the American people. If you think this is the first show trial, you haven't even been paying attention. This is far from the first, and it will be far from the last until this is all over. And I hope that one day it is over. I don't want my kids to grow up in a country like this. I want things to go back to the way they were. I want America to go back to the country it once was, but it's going to take work. You need to put your shoulder to the wheel, and our political leaders and everyone else need to get behind it. So thank you for continuing to watch us, to continuing to support this show, support this podcast. If you want to continue to support us, go to mypillow.com, use promo code POSO, up to 65% off. Get your Christmas shopping in. And by the way, I was just talking in the last segment about political leaders and community leaders who didn't do anything for Kyle Rittenhouse, who don't do anything for their communities. And just as a reminder, Mike Lindell was actually one of the people all the way back in November of last year, a year ago, this came out, that he was one of the people that put in and chipped in for Kyle's legal defense fund. Because regardless of your opinions on these cases, everyone deserves an adequate legal defense. That is our system. That's the United States of America. So let's get into the next bit. Talking about legal defense and talking about the weaponizing of justice. From my good friend Will Chamberlain, also a member of Human Events, the FBI raided Project Veritas on a pretext and is now leaking their privileged communications to the New York Times. This is a scandal, Will said in a tweet. Here's from the New York Times. Project Veritas has long occupied a gray area between investigative journalism, political spying, and internal documents obtained by the New York Times reveal the extent to which the group has worked with its lawyers to gauge how far its deceptive reporting practices can go before running afoul of federal laws. The documents, a series of memos written by the group's lawyer, detail ways for Project Veritas sting operations, which typically diverge from standard journalistic practice, by employing people who mask their real identities or create fake ones to infiltrate target organizations to avoid breaking federal statutes such as law against lying to government officials. Do you see what's going on here? Project Veritas went to their lawyers and said, hey, we want to run these operations and make sure we do so legally. Can you give us an opinion to make sure that we're doing everything above board? We don't want to break any laws. Lawyer said, yeah, here, this is what you do. The FBI then raids, under the Southern District of New York, SDNY, raids Project Veritas, James O'Keefe's house, and leaks those memos to the New York Times. Why is this an even bigger scandal? Because Project Veritas is currently in a lawsuit with the New York Times. And interestingly enough, James O'Keefe just went and tried to seek comment from one of the people from the Times that he is suing. Check it out.
Mr. Bennett, you were sued for defamation. You were the op-ed page for the New York Times. You're on video admitting that you made an admission of a false claim with a Republican Political Action Committee. You were deposed. We've obtained to videotape your deposition.
We did a very poor job, I did, of trying to express the thought that created an inference for readers that there was a causal link between political incitement and the shooting of Gabby Giffords.
You see this?
We did a very poor job. I did. And I'm ultimately responsible for the journalism that we produced.
You admitted under oath you did a poor job. Now, what's remarkable about this videotape deposition is that, do you know what this is? It's a bullseye. Under oath, you denied that this was a target.
Do you consider this map to be political incitement?
In the sense I was using the term that day in our editorial, yeah, I do. I just think it's using violent imagery. I read those as gun sites.
You turn to the second page of this exhibit. Do you consider that to be political incitement?
Those don't look like gun sites to me.
What do you consider the symbols on the map in Exhibit 217 to be?
I don't know what they're meant to represent.
Do they look like bullseyes?
Are they? No, now that you say that, yeah, I could see that.
What are bullseyes used for?
Targeting. Target practice.
With weapons?
Yeah.
My question to you is, do you have any advice for other people being deposed to the New York Times so they don't look like fools? And there you have it, James Bennett of the New York Times. We have just confronted Mr. Bennett. He denied saying what he said under oath. This is the first in a series of videotape depositions we intend to release. Project Veritas boldly going where no one has gone before. The doorsteps of the New York Times editors themselves.
So now it's James O'Keefe's turn. Pretty soon it's going to be Human Events Daily's turn. Then it'll be somebody else's turn. They're going to keep going until this stops. That's why it's so important for the American people when you see the weaponization of the justice system in this country. You need to step up and say, no, we are done. We're not doing it. So we talked about the weaponization and politicization of the justice system, but apparently we're also seeing the weaponization and politicization of the school system in the United States, the education system. What do I mean by this? In Scottsdale, this is out of Arizona Free News, Scottsdale Unified, the school board, school district, assures parents of their privacy in the aftermath of a secret dossier discovery, and parents are calling for the resignation of the school board president. The school board president there was making a dossier on parents who were anti-CRT, and not just a dossier about their names. He was including private information, their social security numbers. He was coming up with lies against them, slander against them. The thing looks like James O'Keefe's Wikipedia page. It's so bad. This is what happens when you allow political activists to take over every institution in America. And unfortunately, that's what the right did for 30 years. Go watch this. It is a secret video that the school board president made of the parents.
The lengths that you have to go to not be recognized, it's like wearing an aquarium on your head.
I know who you are.
It's just not a lot of fun.
Like, is that I think it is? And I'm like, I don't want to be like, hey!
But they don't like having their picture taken, I'll tell you that.
Actually, I got to tell you that she already complained.
Who? Dorn?
Amanda Ray already complained to the police that she's worried about you being here and that you have threatened her in the past.
She doesn't know that's me, though.
I just heard her in the line. When I was standing in line, she was off to the side talking to the police. She said to watch out for his dad, Jon Michael's dad.
So she was like one of the first cars here, and I pulled my motorcycle directly facing her car. But she has no idea that I even have a motorcycle. And I've covered up my license plate. So she's just a lunatic.
And you have the best mask of all.
I know.
I did. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh.
Yeah, this is not fun. But I'll tell you.
Sorry.
I mean, if the district, it's not about Jon Michael. If the district falls into their hands, it'll be the end.
Yes.
That's a little risque, showing a little back cleavage, back decolletage.
Thank you.
Well, you know, I'm always here to entertain the masses. So
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like sweaty everywhere when I have to go up there. But
Oh, here we go, the Gadsden flag. Don't tread on me.
so yucky. See,
Look, this is good though, that they get this kind of publicity.
they wanted to.
somewhere around here, we have a private investigator who's writing down.
So it's pretty obvious what needs to happen here. And we've talked all day about the weaponization of our institutions, the politicization of our institutions. It's actually quite clear what needs to happen. Number one, you need to vote these people out of office where you can. This guy is an elected official as a school board president. Get rid of him, vote him out of office. Next, you need to elect a district attorney and a town council to make this type of thing illegal, so that if it ever happens again, that people like this should be behind bars. And by the way, the district attorney should also be checking that if any private information was shared online and broke privacy laws that he is supposed to be upholding, that this school board president should be charged, should be arrested, and should be placed on trial immediately. And that's it for us today at Human Events. Thanks again for watching us, for continuing to support us. Be the influence agent. Share this out with your normie friends. I know I say that every day, but it's so important right now. And by the way, go check out the Spillover. We just threw up our episode with Alex Clark there. And on Spotify, we got the label one of the most shared episodes. Pretty cool, right? That's because right here, our motto to you: be good, be brief, be gone. The bottom line up front. That's what we're going to deliver to you, Human Events Daily. By the way, go and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Politics or wherever it is that really helps us out, that helps us with the rankings. But before we go, today's moment of history, November 12th, 1864. This was the day that Sherman, after having conquered the city of Atlanta, ordered the destruction of the downtown, the business district, and all the areas there so that the Confederates would not be able to utilize it. Remember your history, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, you have my permission to lay ashore.
You want to see an example of failed socialism? Go to an Indian reservation.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
Muerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates. I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people, even if I have to fight you to save you.
Well, I'm back from San Francisco. Now I'm here in Washington, D.C. I don't know if we've done much better. We've still got the open air drug markets. We've still got the homeless camping on the streets. I don't know if I've really made that much of an upgrade, but we're back to Washington, D.C., and I'm here ensconced in the TPUSA Embassy on Capitol Hill. So for all of us here on the team, thanks so much for watching this week. And now over to the couch. Take it away, John.
Thanks, Jack. Hey, everyone. I'm Jon Root. Happy Friday, and welcome to TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. This is TPUSA Live. Let's take a look at the rundown. First, we'll tell you why BLM is threatening rioting and bloodshed in New York City and more wild stories in the daily briefing. Then you'll get the shocking details about the Scottsdale School Board housing information on parents pushing back against CRT, mask mandates, and more. Next, we'll share some gaffes and downright weird things members of the Biden administration said this week. In our very first Say What, finally, Jack Posobiec joins us to break down the latest in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, followed by LeBron James' disgusting tweet mocking Rittenhouse, and one last thing. All right, let's get this party started. TPUSA Live from HQ starts now.
Authentic, unfiltered, grassroots content and conversation every weekday. Live from Phoenix, Arizona at the Turning Point USA headquarters, this is TPUSA Live.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. Once again, we're at TPUSA headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona with these two incredible people.
Hi. Glad to be on with you
You're
today.
incredible.
Yeah. You're incredible.
We got Isabel Brown, host of Freedom Seeds, On the Front Lines, and a lot of great content you see from TPUSA. Welcome
Thanks,
back.
John.
You did a great job in the open, too.
Thanks. We had fun today, I thought.
It was a lot of fun, and then you're rocking the camo pants, too.
Obviously. This is from the new Alexo
I was gonna
Athletica
ask
winter line. They have some really great stuff coming out. Rumor has it, I think they have a men's line coming out here pretty soon. So that's really exciting.
That's something that Connor and I are pumped
That's
about.
big. I've been looking to go jogging with my gun recently. So.
There you go.
Especially after this whole Rittenhouse thing. You know?
Absolutely.
But producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, Connor
buddy.
Clegg, is here. And a little bit later, we got Jack Posobiec. He's going to jump on, tell us a little bit more about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, but we got to give you some info about some stories that you need to know about in the daily briefing. First off, BLM is threatening rioting and bloodshed in New York City following their meeting with the mayor-elect Eric Adams. So they're talking about reinstating this anti-crime unit that is a plainclothes unit. And it sounds like BLM is now just taking things to the extreme. Classic.
Really? No way. Imagine that. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, lock them up. That's a terrorist threat to the city of New York. And if we actually want to reinstate law and order in this country, which Eric Adams ran on and successfully ran on, then he needs to act on it and do it. Put these people in jail. They're thugs, and it's time for them to stop terrorizing the dang city.
Well, and he can't cower down to their demands.
No,
I think
he better
that's going
not.
to be very telling for his new role as
Right.
mayor of New York City. He definitely ran on an anti-crime platform and trying to clean up the crime that they've seen in New York throughout the past several years. But I also hear some of these threats are tied to the outcome of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial.
Doesn't
that
shock me.
if he's acquitted, they're going to try to burn down the mayor's mansion. They're going to wreak havoc across the city. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it just goes to show you how extreme the influence of groups like BLM, Antifa, and the role of the mainstream media has become with several of these trials in the last several months. First Derek Chauvin, now Kyle Rittenhouse. And I really wonder if there will ever be an unbiased trial, impartial trial ever again in this country.
And I know Jack Posobiec was just covering that on Human Events Daily, and I really hope for the next generation, he was talking about his kids, that this gets figured out right here, right now. But I really love the way Eric Adams has responded, because he said, hey, this is not going to be a city of riots.
Nope.
No, city is not going to be unsafe, because you go back to Mayor Giuliani, the city was safe. And then it just went more and more downhill from there. And I think Eric Adams said, and he's going to call them riots too. He's not going to call them peaceful protests. Right. He is not going to mince his words. He said, these are riots, and these are not going to happen in my city.
Well, yeah, the outgoing Mayor de Blasio was a total joke. I mean, he probably the most incompetent person to ever hold a leadership position in American history. And
wow, that's a bold claim,
Connor.
Oh, no,
I mean, the guy, we don't have enough time to put into words how much of a joke this guy was.
So much of a joke that I actually had a pet beta fish and I named him Gil de Blasio, actually.
That's funny, Isabel. That's funny.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he's got really small shoes to fill, metaphorically speaking. So I hope he lives up to it. But yeah, time for law and order in New York City.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amen to that. There's also other news that NASA won't be sending astronauts to the moon until at least 2025. So actually, Vice President Mike Pence, he called for the landing of astronauts on the moon when he was in office, and he said they'll do it within 5 years. He said by any means necessary, and a lot of people are thinking, well, it's like, well, we had people on the moon decades ago.
Yeah.
Why are we not doing this now? But it sounds like from what NASA Administrator Bill Nelson and Congress said, they did not provide enough money to develop a landing system for its Artemis moon program, and more money is needed for its Ariane
capsule.
Well, unfortunately, NASA usually gets the short end of the stick when it comes to congressional funding because they'd rather put billions and billions of dollars towards funding illegal immigration or climate change or any of the other politically charged topics today, which is actually a huge bummer, regardless of your political background. I think it's so important that we continue investing in this sector of the economy, both from a public and private perspective, because you better bet that China's doing that and Russia's doing that. And when we have our enemies and our adversaries investing so much time and money into space travel, exploration, and even weaponizing that aspect, we're very much behind the curve. And not to mention, you can just see that the private sector does so much of a better job with space now than the public sector probably ever has. You're starting to see that with SpaceX successfully launching and docking at the International Space Station yesterday. I think there's a lot to be said about the private sector in this area moving forward.
Yeah, as we wrap this up too, I think they're trying to play identity politics to try to get some funding too, because they said the human landing system is a crucial part of our work to get the first woman and the first person of color on the lunar surface.
Maybe they'll get money for that. Who knows?
It could work. It could work. I don't blame them for trying. But coming up next, we have some shocking news coming out of the Scottsdale Unified School District, and the school board actually has a dossier on parents pushing back against CRT, mask mandates, and more. We'll break that down in 90 seconds. See you soon.
Critical race theory is the most racist thing that is being spread in popular life in America.
Critical race theory is bigoted. It is a lie.
Racism is now being taught to our kids.
Dividing kids based on race, trying to say some are oppressors and some are oppressed is absolutely unacceptable.
CRT is racist. It is abusive. It discriminates against one's color.
It's not critical race. It's racism.
Conservatives! Politics is now on TPUSA Live. It'll be here every day in case you want to hear me out along with the rest of the Turning Point USA team. Don't miss out on all the conservative.
You have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded tribe have the poorest population?
Listen to me. My country is very because everything problem here. Don't have petroleum for bus and Cuban, for car, for life, for nothing.
And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other way you can describe it.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got these two beautiful people here on the couch. We got Isabel Brown, Connor Clegg. We got to talk about what's happening at the Scottsdale Unified School District. So there was some information that came out over the last few days that basically these parents were getting doxxed. There's a dossier. There was actually a Google Drive within an email that had information about parents, their personal certifications, divorce documents, mortgage statements, financial documents, and so much more, just because they're pushing back against CRT, mask mandates, and other things. So actually, they're questioning this online dossier that had digital connections to a school board member named Jan Michael Greenberg, and there's
a total creep. By the way, just putting it out there, he's a total creep.
Yeah, and I know this is something that Charlie actually just covered on the live feed too.
Yeah, Charlie just wrote up a great article about it on the TPUSA live feed. I'd encourage you to go check it out. But we also have been on this Scottsdale Unified School District for a long time now, frankly.
Because Charlie spoke there. That was like
there were many of us that went to one of the school board meetings in August, a couple months ago.
Yeah, a couple months ago. He spoke there, and this Jon Michael person was very rude, frankly, to Charlie's wife, Erica. And if you know anything about Charlie's wife, she's literally an angel. So to be rude to her, you have to be a very sick individual, which he is. He's also very creepy. He doesn't have any kids. He is a childless individual. So we've been asking the question on the show for a while now, why is a childless individual on a school board? What vested interest does he have, actually? And it just turns out that his vested interest in being on the school board is he's this power-hungry, raving lunatic who simply wants to impose his radical way of life on a bunch of children. So we should be asking these questions. Why are you there? What is your role? What's your interest? What's your vested interest in being here? Creep.
And there's also photos. There's not just documents. There's photos of these parents.
It's really
and actually,
creepy.
they're saying that there's photos of at least one minor, too.
No, I don't doubt it at all. I think this guy, if we actually did a little bit of digging into who he is, and I'm sure that there's people out here there who can do that, they would find some pretty sick stuff, if I had to guess. Not sick stuff in the sense that he would say, right? Because what he says is sick is like if you share a Thomas Sowell quote.
Yeah, really.
That's what's in the dossier. Because apparently if you believe that economic freedom is a good thing, then you're a domestic terrorist,
Literally,
right?
yeah.
And President Biden's administration would agree with you on that. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's time that we start playing offense against these losers and start figuring out what the heck's going on in their life too. I'm not advocating violence, of course, but you know, let's get to the bottom of who the heck this creep is.
Well, it's just absolutely mind-boggling to me that not only has he obtained weird photos of some of these parents and their children, but I mean, their secret private documents, including financial documents and their financial information, even social security numbers I'm reading he has on some of these parents and their children. That is so bizarre. And the fact that this story isn't getting enough attention in the mainstream media just goes to show you what the priority is here when it comes to parents and school boards. The entire narrative has to be any parent that goes against the narrative of transgender bathrooms and critical race theory and mandatory masks equals domestic terrorist. Meanwhile, all of these policies are what's actually encouraging violence, not to school board members, but to innocent children each and every day at school. When it comes to wearing masks all day long with no scientific basis, when it comes to being raped in the bathroom or in your classroom in the name of being progressive and politically correct. And I think these parents have just had enough. They're tired of being labeled as domestic terrorists when their children are put in danger from weird school board members targeting them and their families and the policies they enact when they go to school every day. Enough is enough. And of course, it comes out this week that the Biden administration actually met with the National School Board Administration before the domestic terrorist letter even went out in the first place. So I think the message and the priority from our administration is very clear right now. So it's time for parents to take that power back into their own hands.
Wait a second, Isabel. I want to dive into that. So you're telling me that powerful people on the left colluded with an outside organization.
It's a good word, Connor,
right,
an important
to put
word.
together a dossier, right, on right-wing, quote-unquote, extremists.
Like our organization
like our
here,
organization, right, or just random parents or whatever, in order to, you know, like politically attack them and hurt them and further their leftist agenda. That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
It awfully does.
That sounds very familiar,
And
frankly.
amazingly, it actually happened. It's not a fabricated lie that's coming out of Congress in order to shut down a sitting
Maybe
president.
we need a special counsel to look into the Attorney General of the United States, quite frankly. I'm being serious. I mean, this is very, very scary stuff that's happening here. And if we don't actually start treating it with the gravity that it deserves, then we're going to lose our republic, because this goes a lot deeper than just a dossier and a local school board. This is about a two-tiered justice system in America that says if parents want to speak up about what's happening to their kids in schools, they're domestic terrorists. But if our public servants or our ruling class elite want to dox parents or spy on them or harass them or whatever the heck they're doing in Scottsdale, that's totally fine,
Well, it's
right?
not just fine, they're heroes. And let's even take that a step further.
And they deserve to be protected.
They're actually saying the quiet part out loud, saying parents should have no role in their children's education.
Yeah.
Even in Abigail Schreier's book, that kind of made the news locally here with Turning Point USA this week, with Spotify taking down Alex Clark's interview with Abigail Schreier, doing her investigations with some of these transgender policies, especially with schools in California. They are actually telling children, do not trust your parents.
Right.
Don't trust them. They do not have your best interests at heart. Show up to school. You can have a completely different identity. We'll give you hormones. We'll give you gender-affirming therapy every day without your parents' knowledge. We're seeing this in California. We're seeing it in Loudoun County. Now we're starting to see some of this insanity in Scottsdale. So this isn't just happening in LA, in New York City, in Chicago. This is likely happening in your backyard. And school districts and these school board members that are just absolute wackos are actually trying to take away your parental rights and roles for your children moving forward.
Yeah. Well, they're flat out denying this stuff too. So you have people jumping on MSNBC, CNN, everything, even during the Virginia governor's race, saying, "Oh, CRT is not taught in school."
I literally had someone say that to me this morning on Newsmax. I argued with somebody about this. None of that's happening. I'm like, a girl got raped in the bathroom at her school. Oh, that didn't happen. How can you honestly go about your life?
Believe all women, right?
I mean, it just blows my mind.
Well, I mean, it's disgusting. And the gaslighting by the mainstream activist legacy media is reaching a boiling point where even, I think, moderate people who aren't necessarily, folks on the right, they're waking up to it and they're saying, wait a second, you're insulting my intelligence now, telling me that this crap doesn't exist, because I can look at it with my own 2 eyes and tell you that it does, right? So sit down, shut up, I'm not listening to you anymore. There's a reason why the press or the American public's trust in the media is at an all-time low, right? It's so obvious why it's happening, because people like Nicole Wallace are going on there and they're saying CRT isn't even real, or Joy Reid, who is one of the largest lunatics in American history to ever grace a TV camera, if you can call it gracing it. I mean, she's tough to look at. But yeah, she's a nasty person who says really, really stupid things, and people are like, whoa, time out. That's not even true. Like, and they're turning him off. And they're going to actually realize, like, I need to start taking a vested interest in my kid's life, because for a long time I've been gaslit into believing that everything's peachy keen, and it's actually not. It's pretty messed up over there.
Well, even some of the title of these files, which is in the dossier, is SUSD wackos, press conference psychos, anti-mask lunatics, press conference psychos, and Jew donors.
Jew donors, got it. Okay.
Because that's not anti-Semitic in any way.
No, Isabel, don't you know you're the anti-Semitic one if you criticize, God Emperor George Soros, right? Get out of my face.
I just think we've arrived at the point where I want off this planet. I think that every day it just gets worse and
worse.
worse.
We can't go to the moon until 2025 at least.
So that's good to know. But B, lies have become truth, and truth has become lies. And people literally are blind to what is happening in front of them. They're blind to what reality is, and that's really scary. We talk all the time about fighting this culture war, but I think unless people are willing to open their own eyes and acknowledge reality, acknowledge what's happening right before their very eyes in their community, I don't know if progress can really be made on this issue.
Well, you have parents speaking out. So like Trish Olson, she's a resident and a mother of a student that goes to the Scottsdale Unified School District, saying, what's the end goal for Jon? Why would a grown man in his position, kind of like what you were talking about, gather this information, pictures of our children, our girls, and hold on to this information? Like, what's the end goal? That's,
it's really creepy too, even creepier. It's another little layer to this. This Jon or John or whatever the heck his name is.
Do not call him John, because that would put a bad name on the Johns.
John with an H. I think it's the French spelling of John or something. Whatever. Gene. He actually, turns out, his dad did a lot of the snooping for him, right? Ew. So it's like a generational, multi-generational thing. And then when he was asked about it, apparently because his dad was going out and harassing these parents, these wackos as he calls them, right? He said, well, I'm not my father's keeper. I'm just your child's keeper, right? But so, yeah, it's really weird. There's a lot more to the story that I think is going to come out soon, and keep your eyes peeled to the Charlie Kirk Show for that. But yeah, childless, faceless, creeps like Jean or Jean or whatever. They need to be run out of town, because that guy is probably thrown in jail.
Well, the good news is they can be, and we saw that in the last couple of weeks with Election Day, with so many conservative parents stepping up to run for school board all across the country with resounding victories. Totally. And I think statewide, Virginia was a really great foreshadowing opportunity moving into 2022, when people are willing to stand up and say enough is enough. We're not subjecting our kids to this anymore.
Well, Jon sounds like the Joffrey of school boards.
Literally.
That's the best way to put it. And then also Amanda Ray, an administrator for the Community Advocacy Network group on Facebook, this is what she said about the situation. It's absolutely terrifying to see the dedication of someone stalking you and your children. He's sharing our information outside of the district. Does he know everything about me and my kids? Does he know my child's emergency contact at school? Does he know my kids' allergies? He has no legitimate purpose to be collecting and sharing this information. And it's just like you said, this stuff is terrifying.
It's creepy.
And there's a reason why Virginia went the way it went. Because this stuff is real, parents are fed up, and kids are in danger. That's what it comes down to. This isn't just, they got a few of our financial documents or just paparazzi-looking photo. No, they have legitimate documents on us that could hurt us and our kids.
When we were watching all of this craziness come to fruition and start to unfold under the last presidential administration, I remember everybody kind of just shaking their head thinking, gosh, I never imagined that the president would be so directly targeted with his tax documents or his personal documents, and wow, so crazy that the media is going after this. Could you ever have predicted that in just a few short years they would be going after school kids and their parents like this, and trying to publicize their social security number and their tax filings and take creepy stalker pictures? I like that word, stalking, because that's likely what this is, and frankly it should be prosecuted as stalking. I never could have imagined that it would trickle down that severely through our entire political and social system, from the President of the United States to your local school room mom.
Well, then under the stalking laws here in Arizona, and specifically in this area, you can violate, or if you violate this, you could be $1,000 per violation and up to 1 year in prison.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Lock him up, frankly. Lock Gene up. Yeah, we always used to say if it could happen to President Trump, it could happen to anybody.
We did, and I think
that
we
we're kinda
didn't even
seeing
understand
now, right?
that when we said that at first.
Yeah, and I just got chills thinking about it because really that's kind of what we've been seeing for the past, 9 or 10 months now, is the war that they waged on that fella when he was in the White House, it's now being waged on us. So when he was there, he was kind of taking a lot of those bullets. He's not there anymore. And now I think real Americans are suffering.
And he always used to say, they're not going after me, they're really going after you. I just happen to be in the way.
Exactly
and I think
right.
we're all experiencing what that looks like now.
That's exactly right.
And the way they got this too is anybody that had the link could access it. And then it went to a private link around 11 a.m. on November 9th. So independent news media ended up reporting that as well. And a big thing about this is this isn't somebody that's just, they're going to be done in a few years. He's running for re-election.
Well,
so there's
I
actually,
hope he doesn't win.
Filed to run for re-election November 2022. So 2022 is a huge year for not only here in the Scottsdale area, the Phoenix area, but all across the country. And like, what do you think is going to be happening next? And how do you think Charlie's going about situations like this to make sure people are informed and they get the real news about what's going on, not only here in Scottsdale, but across the country? Yeah, well, I can tell you a couple things. What's happening next is there's an active movement actually to not allow him to run again. We're going to actually recall him from the ballot and not or from his office, which will in turn recall him from the ballot. So that's happening because it should be unacceptable. We can't just leave it up to. Look, voting is a great thing. Get involved in your elections. It's important to be involved in your fine, but like we can't just rely on elections to get creeps like this out. We're talking about our kids who are at stake right now, right? So we have to do a little. We have to be a little bit more concerted in our efforts to get rid of them, right? Recall is coming. He's going to be out of there. I think a lot of them are going to be out of there, and parents are stepping up to fill their shoes. Second of all, we also saw that all politics is local last week. Was that last week on Tuesday? Man, it's flying by. So yeah, just what we would say at the Charlie Kirk Show is stay involved, stay engaged, and don't let these creeps keep messing with your kids, because the mama bears and the papa bears of this country, they're going to rise up and they're going to take care of this.
Yes, they are. And if you're here locally in Scottsdale, their next meeting is on November 30th. So
Charlie will be
please
there.
show up, testify, say enough is enough, and wherever your community is, start to do the research on where your school board is meeting and when, because you have a right to go make your voice heard.
Yeah. Because there's no more waiting anymore. Something like this comes out, you have school board members that feel unbelievably empowered to do this stuff, and they feel like there's nothing anyone can do to fight back. But you see what's happening in Virginia. You see what can happen here with the voices like Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk and contributors like Isabel and you. Like, it's unbelievable what we can do here and the difference we can make. But coming up next, obviously, President Biden and VP Harris always have some interesting things to say. So we decided to show a few of those in this next segment, in our brand new segment called Say What? And we're going to break that down. They've said some wonky things. We'll see you guys in just about 90 seconds.
This has all happened before. The riots, violence, church burning, attacks on police, destruction of private property.
My name is Sammy Steigman. I am a Holocaust survivor.
This is the reality of what happens when you have capitalism that goes to socialism.
El socialismo no funciona. El socialismo no funciona.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. All right, Picture this. Picture the 9 justices of the Supreme Court sitting in their courtroom in front of those tall red curtains. Now imagine a moving crew loudly dropping in 1, 2, maybe even 3 or 4 additional chairs. Then President Biden and the Senate, that's controlled by the left, are selecting who sits in those new seats, all to further their own political desires. Our friends at First Liberty call that the Supreme Court coup. Learn more about this brazen effort against our liberty at supremecoup.com. That's supremecoup, COUP.com. All right, once again, welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got Connor Clegg, Isabel Brown, brand new segment. Say what? A lot of times you're hearing President Biden speak, VP Harris, and you're just like, wait, rewind. What was actually just said? And I know last segment we were talking about Jon.
I heard you're mounting a campaign to run against him. Is that right?
To be the sane, childless man.
I'm going to be the sane Jon, the English Jon, that's also in his 30s, doesn't have any kids, but actually won't post any photos about you.
Good. That
So
works. Incrementalism.
Maybe. Jon Root 2022. That's what we're doing. But VP Harris, she went to go visit some French scientists, and she decided to put on a nice little French accent. Check this out.
With us in government, we campaign with the plan. Uppercase T, uppercase P, the plan. And then the environment is such that we're expected to defend the plan. Even when the first time we roll it out, there may be some glitches and it's time to reevaluate and then do it again.
Oh, we cook in the kitchen, we eat the ratatouille, it's so nice.
Pepe Le Pew, cancelled.
Oh, what is up with the left? And this is something called code switching. They do this all the time. They always go in there and they adapt these weird fake accents. Remember when Hillary Clinton did it when she went on the Breakfast Club and she was like, keep hot sauce in my bag and all this stuff. And then AOC goes to the Mrs. They start adopting these weird like fake accents and they try to sound black but I've never seen someone try to sound French.
I want to hear you try to sound French.
Oh, omelette du fromage. That's just not natural. What are you doing, weirdo? Yeah, she's a total embarrassment. I don't know if you've ever seen the HBO show Veep,
yes,
but it
love
feels
that
like we're
show,
living in
actually.
like this the worst episode of Veep that ever was produced, and it's super embarrassing.
It's
honestly.
really just bizarre.
She
Like,
also
it's
just
one thing to speak French
Yeah.
as a diplomat and like a representative of your country to a French delegation. That to me would make a lot of sense. But to make this weird crossover accent, like I'm one of you people, but I'm not. It's so fake. And fake is the best word I can use to describe everything about this administration. They have a fake Oval Office set across the street in the Eisenhower building. They got fake accents. They have fake answers to every question the media ever asks Jen Psaki. It's just so weird. I cannot wrap my head around it.
And when they're trying to relate to people of other cultures, it just brings it back to si c'est Broadway.
Yeah.
I
Sweet
forgot
Dr.
about
Jill.
that. Oh, that was a good time.
Oh, sweet kid.
Oh, man. Well, bonjour, President Biden. What did he have to say about such a page? Check it out.
That's good, John.
Thanks.
I've adopted the attitude of the great Negro at the time pitcher in the Negro Leagues, went on to become a great pitcher in the pros, into the Major League Baseball after Jackie Robinson. His name was Satchel Paige.
So there's a part of me that thinks, obviously, there's parts of President Biden a little bit senile. Like,
Well,
maybe
it's
a little bit,
sad.
a lot.
Honestly, it's kind of sad.
It is sad because, especially when you say, and you phrase it as a great Negro at the time. It's like, well, what happened after he stopped playing baseball?
Well, I just feel like from an outside perspective looking in, and obviously we don't really know, but many, many, many experts have weighed in on this. Like, clearly he's exhibiting signs and symptoms of dementia. And it's actually just really sad to me to see him puppeted around like this to be a talking head for the progressive left. I don't even know that he's fully aware of what, talking is a strong word because I don't know if the awareness is really there. It's literally like Weekend at Bernie's over here. And we're just using this man as a puppet to push through this agenda. We don't even know who's in charge. Who is calling all the shots? He keeps saying, they tell me I can do this and they tell me I can do that. Are we ever going to know who's they?
They, them, actually.
Maybe it's one person, maybe it's a ton. We don't know. The rules always change, but it's actually just really sad at this point because clearly he's not all there.
It's the meat puppet presidency. I don't want to be too mean to the guy, but it is weird, and I think it's worth mocking him because that's what they do to the right all the time.
Of course,
like,
yeah.
This is like the 4th or 5th time that he's gone on to tell this Satchel Paige story. It's the first time that he's used the word Negro to do it, but he told this to the Pope the other day.
He did.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, there's a lot to talk about in the world right now, I promise. I don't know if he knows that, but like the fact that the president is running around talking about like Satchel Paige, who was a great ball player.
He really was. He's one of the
greatest.
greatest.
Of all the things you could go to talk to the Pope about, right? Or to talk on Veterans Day. People lose sight of the fact that this was on Veterans Day. What the hell are you talking about,
his
dude?
Veterans Day address. Like, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, this is at the Arlington Cemetery, and he's basically just talking about age again. So that's what he was talking to the Pope about.
Oh,
like, this is
he's
like
projecting.
This is just his age joke. Well, you know, I'm
Was
old.
this before or after he crapped his pants because of age?
Well, it depends.
a great question.
It depends on who's asking.
Yeah, that's the only.
That was a holy crap there at the Vatican.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Well, that's the only free gas we're getting. That's for sure. But this is what President Biden had to say about the supply chain and inflation crisis, and it looks like he's finally admitting we have a crisis.
People are feeling it. They're feeling it. Do you ever think you'd be paying this much for a gallon of gas? In some parts of California, they're paying $4.50 a gallon. That's why it's so important that we do everything in our power to stabilize the supply chain.
Wrong. It's actually $4.50 here in the Phoenix area. It's $8 a gallon in some parts of California. But to answer your question, President Biden, no, I did never think I would actually be paying this much money for a gallon of gas. Thank you for shutting down the pipeline and for suggesting we shut down another one. I'm so grateful that you're representing my interests. Thank you. Like, I could just go on and on about this. Every time I go to the gas station, it's like tax day all over again, and I just hate it. It's very upsetting.
Well, we can tell you're upset. I'm upset too. But it's one of those, he's actually admitting there's a crisis here. And that's exactly why they don't let him take questions after he gives a little address.
Right.
Things like that.
Well, and the thing is, I think that he's trying to lay the groundwork to blame this on former President Trump, probably.
Yep.
But you really can't. Like, people are starting to say, oh man, this sucks. He's got really low approval ratings, right? Like 32%. The only one that's worse is Kamala at like 28%. So at some point, he's going to have to keep doing what he's doing and taking accountability for this. But I don't see that coming.
Well, even on the issue of gas prices alone, let's just talk about that for a second. Under President Trump, in parts of the country, it got down to less than $1 a gallon, like 90 cents a gallon. In Kentucky, at one point, we experienced energy independence for the first time really in our lifetime ever. And for the first time, it looked like we weren't going to be wrapped up in these insane proxy wars over oil and gas. And we could actually invest in good development of alternative energy sources. And instead, under this presidency, we're paying $8 a gallon in parts of LA. We're canceling 2 pipelines now, potentially, but investing in them in Russia. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, they're allowed to do that. And I read something this morning that said the White House is now saying, well, it's because of the rising gas prices, it's a great time to invest in alternative energy. Right. So clearly it's all working together to make sure that things like the Green New Deal can in fact be pushed through.
It's all a part of the plan. I keep thinking to myself sometimes over the past few months, like, if I wanted to destroy America, right, what would I do? Right? Would I do anything differently than what the Biden administration is doing right now? I don't think I would.
They're doing a great job.
They're doing a phenomenal job. And then when you get asked about the gas prices, I don't know if we have, but the Energy Secretary Granholm gets asked about the gas prices, and she just like leans her head back and laughs like a freaking hyena. I guess she took a lesson from Kamala.
Maybe they have training for
right?
that at the White House.
they have
this
to
is
have,
how to laugh.
Yeah, it's terrible. And then she blames OPEC, and it's like, look, I'm from Texas. We have enough oil and reserves and everything that we need to be energy independent again in the Permian Basin alone to never be relying on OPEC or anyone else ever again. All you got to do is just say, yep, do it. You know, but they won't because they hate our country.
They won't.
They want you to suffer until you suffer into compliance with them. Their weird green energy fantasy that they want you to all live under. Like no cow farts, but Biden farts are okay. Get out of my face.
I want to get to our final say what. This is an interesting thing President Biden had to say about McDonald's Wi-Fi. Say what?
How many times, if you don't live in an area where you have high-speed internet you can afford, how many times you've driven your kids to the parking lot of McDonald's and sat there going off the McDonald's internet so you could hear?
Actually, this became a trending audio on TikTok several weeks ago, and everyone was making funny, hilarious videos about it. In fact, our TPUSA Live account, which you guys should follow, has a video with MAGA Hulk that has over 11 million views to that previous audio.
Wow.
So Hilarious, but not a new one from him.
We're not going to the moon until at least 2025, but those views are definitely going to the moon. Coming up next, in just about 90 seconds, we're talking to Jack Posobiec about Kyle Rittenhouse trial. See you soon.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
Politics is now on TPUSA Live. It'll be here every day in case you want to hear me out along with the rest of the Turning Point USA team. Don't miss out on all the conservative.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We still got Connor Clegg and Isabel Brown here, but we're going to invite in TPUSA contributor and senior editor of Human Events, also the host of Human Events Daily, Jack Posobiec, to break down the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Jack Posobiec, welcome to TPUSA Live.
You know, it's amazing to actually be on the couch because I'm always tossing people to the couch. I say, go to the couch. Take it away, John. Take away Isabel. Take away Connor. And now here I am. Though, of course, unfortunately, I'm not physically on the couch. I am here ensconced in the beautiful Turning Point USA offices of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, are you feeling safe out there in Washington, D.C., Jack? Are you
No, good? No. Good Lord, no. No, I'm getting out of the city as soon as this interview is over.
Good. That's what we like to hear.
But obviously, all of us across America have been following the Kyle Rittenhouse case. I think the fact that this has just exploded, what it's exploded into, is an absolute farce. It seems like it's a scam, and it seems like it's been blown absolutely out of proportion. So what's been your thoughts on the trial so far, and especially, too, with the prosecution and the back and forth with the judge? It's been very, very dramatic.
Well, this has been an absolute roller coaster. I've never seen a trial like this, and I covered numerous, even federal criminal trials here in Washington, D.C. in the past when I was with One American News. This is unprecedented, not only to see the level to which these prosecutors are going, but also the fact that you actually had Kyle Rittenhouse take the stand. That's not something you see defendants doing. And I'm actually wondering, I was talking to some lawyers about this, they were wondering if that was a nod to sort of this post-Derek Chauvin conviction era in which we're in, where a lot of people, a lot of jury watchers were looking at that and saying, you know, because of the intense media scrutiny that had been focused on that case, as well as here in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, does it make sense maybe for Kyle to take the stand and tell his side of the story? Because the media for 14 months has been spreading a completely false allegation, completely false lies. You had President Biden even go so far as to smear this kid really as a white supremacist, when in fact there was no racial element whatsoever to these shootings, despite the fact that the media has lied about it step by step of the way. Now, all the video evidence shows that Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. That's actually clear. But earlier today, actually yesterday, at the very end of the trial, the 11th hour, the prosecution is trying to introduce what they call enhanced photo into the evidence. I call it a fortified photo that they're trying to put into evidence. Because what this is, they're claiming this thing shows Kyle Rittenhouse pointing his AR-15 at Joseph Rosenbaum or Zeminski, and then these are the guys that chase him through the parking lot, right? So they're trying to say that Kyle provoked the entire thing. Well, here's the problem. So for anyone who doesn't understand the Second Amendment, or anyone who doesn't shoot, who doesn't understand the AR-15 platform, for their theory to make sense of this ridiculous blurry, and if you watch the Human Events Daily show that was just on, you see this crazy blurry image that even after they doctor it up and fortify it, you really can't tell what's going on. For it to make sense, Kyle would have to be holding it in his left hand. And every single other photo of Kyle, from the hours and hours of video we have of this event to photos he had posted on his own TikTok, his Instagram, et cetera, it clearly shows that he's holding his rifle in his right hand and that he always carries it at something that we would call low ready or low port in the Navy. That means your right elbow is up, your right shoulder is up, and that you've got it pointed down away from anyone. This is the exact same stance that he takes numerous times throughout the evening, because even as Kyle's being attacked, he realizes that there are people in the mob that aren't attacking him, and he turns the gun away when they put their hands up, like with Gage Grosskreutz. This is completely insane, and what we're actually seeing here is what I think will be the first of many show trials that continue until really all of this, whatever you want to call this thing we're in, until all of this is over. This will not be the first time this happens, unfortunately.
Well, it seems like this is not only just an attack on Kyle Rittenhouse and his character, and I think the fact that he took the stand was shocking for a lot of people, but the fact he was able to share his side of the story seemed to really help him out. But it seems like this is an attack on the Second Amendment and maybe even the definition of self-defense.
Well, here's what it comes down to, right? If you have a right to life, then that inherently means you must have the right to defend your life, or else you don't have that right at all. It's really as simple as that. If we don't allow people the right to defend their lives, we don't allow people the right to defend their livelihoods, right? If you even go back into self-defense law and the history of self-defense law, it was they try to make this distinction between person and property today, but in the past, there was no distinction when this thing first came out. If you go all the way back, and the judges brought this up numerous times, hearkening back to Roman law, hearkening back to the origins of Western civilization and these traditions that we've carried down with us, because they said, well, if I can defend my life, then surely I can defend my livelihood. If I can defend my livelihood, then surely I need to be able to defend my property. It's as simple as that. Now, of course, we have gradations there, right? If someone is merely throwing a rock, that doesn't mean you can just go shoot them, right? That's not self-defense. But that's the basic inherent genesis of where all these laws come from. So if you have a right to life, then you have a right to defend yourself and to defend your life if someone is using fatal force, or if you are presented with imminent fatal force against you. That's exactly what happened in numerous instances, numerous skirmishes throughout that evening. And this kid, he defended himself, and he took steps to be able to defend himself. And when he did take the stand, he was very clear when the judge asked him and the prosecutor asked him, did you intend to kill those people? He said, no. I didn't want to kill anybody. And they asked him again and again and again for hours. They asked him. He said, I just wanted to stop the threat. Clearly that's a safe answer. And that I think it's also the correct answer, right? Because at one point we know that he didn't, the third assailant, he didn't actually kill him. He shot him in the arm. And so that's a situation where that's the exact textbook definition you want to give. I was defending myself against an active threat to life and limb.
Jack, you spent a lot of time this morning and just now kind of explaining this tampered photo, allegedly tampered, enhanced is the word we'll go with here. This isn't the first sign of erratic behavior we've seen from the prosecution, though, and in fact, the judge has been very frustrated with the attempts to really unravel Kyle from the prosecution. What's your take on the approach that they've taken throughout this trial, and what do you think their closing arguments are going to focus on?
Well, I think that they've gone completely way over the line in terms of constitutionality and in terms of whether or not this could be declared a mistrial with prejudice, which is something, by the way, that the defense has suggested they will do. What do I mean by that? Number one of the first things that Assistant Deputy Attorney Binger said to Kyle while he was on the stand was, so you've never told your side of the story before. What he's doing right there is completely unconstitutional. I think anybody who's watched any, cop show or detective show knows the first thing they say is, you have the right to remain silent. That cannot be used to attack your credibility while you're at trial. 100% unconstitutional that Binger did. The next step was that Binger tried to introduce character evidence because he was saying that it spoke to intent. He was trying to introduce evidence that the judge had already stricken from court. It was regarding a completely separate altercation, completely separate incident that took place on an entirely different day, Binger references it in front of the jury. Again, something that's completely against the rules. And, just put it this way, to anybody who's, considering being a lawyer out there, if you ever find yourself in courtroom, do not go against something that the judge specifically told you not to do when you're in the courtroom, all right? That is that judge's courtroom. That's the closest thing we have to sovereignty in terms of individual in the United States. Don't mess with the judge when you're in his court. He can literally hold you in contempt and throw you in jail right there. But what do I think the prosecution's closing is going to be? I think it's really actually going to hinge on this photo and the series of photos and videos that came from this drone that, of course, we only found out about 1 week ago actually existed, where they are going to try to make this case, the same case that's been made in the media, that Kyle provoked the attack, that Kyle crossed state lines, even though the town he lives in is only 15 minutes away. They are going to say that Kyle is the one who caused this because they know that none of the evidence is in their favor. However, if he provoked the attack, then the argument goes he loses his right to self-defense. Now, there's a bigger question there regarding that, whether or not he can still, if they escalate things up to the point where they're going to kill him, does he still lose the right to self-defense? But that is going to be their entire argument. It really does. I know this is so stupid and ridiculous. It actually entirely hinges on this completely distorted, blurred out photo that when you show it to most people out of context, they say, I have no clue what I'm looking at. Is that a gun? Is that a strap? Is it a piece of black licorice? I can't tell.
Can you explain also very quickly for those watching what a mistrial with prejudice would look like, because that has been asked for by the defense?
Well, so a mistrial with prejudice is actually something that would be incredibly in Kyle's favor. Of course, in terms of public opinion, it wouldn't necessarily exonerate him, but a mistrial with prejudice would mean, so if there was a regular mistrial or just mistrial without prejudice, that would mean that the district attorney, the city attorney could bring these charges against him again. But a mistrial with prejudice means that it's done. Double jeopardy would apply in that case. A mistrial with prejudice means he's done, he can walk, the entire thing is over.
I was just going to say, we've got clearer pictures of Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster than we do of Kyle there. But my question, though, is you brought up a great point about the judge in his courtroom. But this Judge Schroeder, he's been phenomenal this whole time.
Awesome.
The guy is based, right? So why the 11th hour?
I will put it this way, though. He did allow that blurry image.
That's my question. Why did he do that, do you think?
Because at the end of the day, even though we can, I think, get a sense of where his personal opinions and his personal preferences do lie in terms of this case, or just in terms of him as a person. Again, he's 75 years old. This guy is a dinosaur on the bench. Things are going to look a lot different in this country when the millennials are in charge of the bench.
It'll be a disaster.
Zoomers are in charge of the bench. That is why it's so important for Turning Point USA to work now to prevent anything like that happening, and have more judges that focus specifically on the evidence, not these woke narratives, not any narrative that comes in from outside of court. But why did he allow the evidence? Because ultimately he's erring on the side of the jury. He wants to see the jury weigh this evidence and they decide for themselves whether or not it shows what it shows. And so you've got on one hand, you've got the prosecutor saying that this one blurry image is the only piece of evidence that says that Kyle pointed his gun at somebody, or you've got all the other perfectly clear, crystal clear in 4K images of Kyle Rittenhouse walking around with his gun pointed at the ground until someone attempts to kill him, to chase him, to pursue him.
And then I'd love to hear your take, too, because you talked about this on Human Events Daily, how this could really affect the rule of law for our kids. And you talked about your kids, and we were speaking about that on the couch, that especially the way journalists have gone about this, they haven't done journalism, they've done defamation, and how this could really affect our future in the rule of law.
Look, if you look at the Soviet Union, if you look at East Germany, if you look at Poland under communism, right? This is exactly how it was done. If you look at communist China, this is exactly how it's done, where you are thrown down a media narrative, or I should say a regime narrative, that goes out, that's pumped through all the state organs. You are then brought before a trial. You might get a chance to put up some kind of statement or something, but the idea of a positive defense, it's not there. Think about this fact. Facebook declared Kyle Rittenhouse within hours of the shooting. to be a mass murderer. What did that do? That meant that you could only write posts about Kyle Rittenhouse that were negative. You were not allowed to support him. You were not allowed to share his legal defense link for his legal fund. So he, as a matter of course, as a U.S. citizen, is of course entitled to a legal defense, as all U.S. citizens are. Facebook unilaterally decided, along with the regime narrative, that he was not allowed to crowdfund his legal defense. Does that really seem like justice? These are the types of questions that we really need to start asking each other. Do we want to live in that kind of society, especially a society where Mark Zuckerberg is putting together the Zuckerverse, he's putting together this VR stuff, this world where they're gonna want us to live in, where he's in complete control and his systems and his algorithms are in complete control over what we can see, what we can hear, and ultimately what we're allowed to think and say.
Well, it just goes to show you the influence of the media and social media, like with jury behavior. We obviously saw that in the Chauvin trial with people being targeted. Do you think this is the new normal for juries moving forward?
And then final take here with about a minute left, Jack.
Well, I do think so, that we really need to get this under control, right? You have to see, and don't hold your breath, but in a serious society right now, you would see the FBI and the DOJ cracking down on anyone who attempts to intimidate a jury. The idea of jury doxing, or somebody standing outside at the bus station taking pictures or filming the jury, as we heard about in this case, from multiple sources now, both George Floyd's nephew and the judge have talked about this. You cannot allow that in a serious society, period. Anyone who's even suspected of it should be investigated.
And then yes or no answer here. Do you think he's going to get acquitted as we head to commercial break in a second?
I think it's 50-50, and I think he's probably going to be acquitted on some of the charges, but not all.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Jack, and thank you so much for giving us the best information out there. Everyone, make sure you follow HUman Events Daily. Jack, we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
What we call huerte. Huerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good. Just like the Nazi concentration camps.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates.
I moved from the poorest county in America, the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, to the richest area in the country, the Navajo Indian Reservation. There is no difference. The poorest and richest reservations in our nation suffer from identical problems. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments.
So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism. And I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can to tell them that you can do this. Yeah, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We're here with Connor Clegg, Isabel Brown. We got time for one last thing, but before we jump into what LeBron James tweeted out, I do want to mention to all you at home and everybody watching Human Events Daily with Jack Posobiec, if you missed that last segment, I think it was so important what Jack tweeted. There's millions of people that still think Kyle Rittenhouse shot black people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they think, and that's the narrative that's being pushed constantly. And the closing arguments are coming soon. Monday's going to happen. And just like Jack said, it's so unbelievable to hear a story like this and see a trial and have someone like Jack Posobiec say, it's 50-50 if he gets acquitted.
I'm not surprised, though, just based on what we've seen with the complete farce in the media the last couple of months. I mean, you're even seeing people like Candace Owens tweeting out. People are saying she's a race traitor for saying that Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. If you're going around peddling these talking points, it's very clear to me you have not watched 1 second of this trial. Not one.
Yeah, a lot of people who knew that they were wrong are starting to wake up and they say, crap, I really got all this wrong. Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks is a good example. And
She's a great example.
To close it on this, I just want to say, obviously he didn't deserve to die, but not only was one of the guys that Kyle shot white, he was a kitty fiddler.
Literally.
He was a pedophile.
A convicted anal rapist of children. Yeah.
There you go.
Just to be totally blunt.
He doesn't deserve, I don't know, maybe not, probably doesn't deserve to be shot and killed over that, but it's an important thing to consider.
But the way the left has talked about this, they've compared him to basically a school shooter. They've said he's a white supremacist, and they've said so many deflammatory things about him. And then LeBron James, the king of faking, the king of flopping. The guy lays on the floor longer than soccer players and fakes injuries, and he's crying himself. Like, you've seen the crying Jordan meme. You've also seen crying LeBron. And he tries to say that Kyle Rittenhouse was fake crying. This is the tweet that he put out there. So he said, "What tears? I didn't see one. Man, knock it off. That boy ate some lemon heads before walking into court." Crying emojis. LeBron, you have no room to talk whatsoever. At all. And then imagine, okay, just imagine this. I know I'm the sports guy, so I'm going to go off real quick. Imagine if you had a white NBA superstar, let's say Luka Doncic, came out and said something like this about a black kid on trial. Media would lose their freaking minds.
They'd probably find a way to make Lemonheads candy racist, too, while they're at it. Probably. That's how insane this is.
Yeah,
especially someone like Kyle Rittenhouse that, just like we talked about in this last segment, the fact that he took the stand was shocking to a lot of people, and that he finally was able to give his side of the story. And he's clearly emotional. And then Jack actually tweeted out that he's going through therapy because of PTSD, because of the situation. And he's clearly emotional. And having to relive something like that, he acted in self-defense. He was trying to provide medical care for multiple people. You see that in video evidence. And then now you have NBA superstar, the pawn for the CCP, the pawn for the leftist media, LeBron James, come out and say this guy's faking it. It's disgusting.
It is disgusting, but you know, I think we should end on a positive note. I was pleasantly surprised that Kyle took the stand. He certainly did not have to and put himself under that type of scrutiny from the prosecution or from the media alike. But it took a lot of courage to get up there and tell your story and relive what must have been the worst night of your wildest imagination and nightmares as a 17-year-old boy being targeted and being screamed at, "I'm going to kill you if I get my hands on you." Having to deal with that at such a young age and now be under, I think, the most intense scrutiny I've ever seen for what was a minor during that situation, but now a young adult in a trial like this, I can't imagine what's going through his head. So the fact that he was so composed, minus one situation where he broke down for a few minutes, so eloquent, so able and ready to answer all of these questions, is very, very impressive to me, and I think will help him with the jury once closing arguments are done.
Yeah, and the jury actually is, I think, all white except for one jury, right? That's just based on the demographics of the area. It's also a majority female jury, right? And so I think what the thought process was for the defense was, we're going to put this young kid up there, and I bet if any of these jurors have sons, look a lot like Kyle Rittenhouse.
Have a heart. I mean, this prosecution was ripping into him, saying, you know, you meant to kill people, you hate people, you were going out there seeking vengeance, and over and over and over and over again, Kyle had to say, no, I did not want to kill anyone. My life was in danger. All I wanted to do was end the threat that was right in front of me. I can't imagine how hard that would be to answer that question like 200 times in the span of a few hours.
And he had a composed answer every single time.
I do just want to say one thing, a special preview for everyone here watching on TPUSA Live. Stay tuned to the Charlie Kirk Show. If you're not subscribed already, we're going to have a very special interview with someone that we've been talking about a lot on the show coming up next week. So you're not going to want to miss that. He's not going to be talking to a lot of people, but we're one of them. So if you're not subscribed, I'd go subscribe right now, and you're not going to want to miss the interview that we have with Kyle coming up. So
once again, Connor Clegg, Isabel Brown, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you're following Jack Posobiec for all the breaking news with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. We'll cover it as well. Get tickets to AmericaFest, TPUSA.com/AmericaFest. The live feed will have some breakdown of the trial as well. Live feed, TPUSA.com/live feed. Promo code John for AmericaFest too, 25% off. We're going to have a great weekend. We hope you do too. See you on Monday.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
The Spillover is powered by Turning Point USA. You know what else is powered by TPUSA? America Fest. The biggest party in America is coming to Phoenix, Arizona from December 18th to the 21st. So mark your calendars, baby. We've got some of the biggest names in the conservative movement like Donald Trump Jr., Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and musical guests too. They don't call this the conservative Coachella for nothing, okay? We've got Russell Dickerson, Brantley Gilbert, and Ray Lynn, plus way more. That's just what I can fit in this ad right now. It's casual. It's fine. We're fine. So what are you doing? You're going to TPUSA.com/AmericaFest to get your tickets. That's what. Use code ALEX at checkout for 25% off. I am so excited to see you there. Big dog status, I'm a big dog, I pull up on the block. In May 2011, I was a month away from graduating high school. I remember sitting in my honors English class when we heard the news. Osama Bin Laden was dead. Cheers erupted. Some of us high-fived and hugged. For all of us who had been in elementary school and could remember the complete U-turn America took that day that the towers fell, it was a collective sigh of relief. Even as a teenager, I was conservative, but I vividly remember thinking that this successful mission was a huge win for the Obama administration. And I was happy. I was happy for America, and I was happy that justice had finally been served for so many grieving families who had lost loved ones on that Tuesday 20 years ago. Growing up as a self-described chubby white kid with strawberry blonde hair in Montana who couldn't swim, no one thought that Robert O'Neill would become not only one of the most highly decorated combat veterans of our time, but also a member of the elite SEAL Team 6. Robert O'Neill was one of the SEALs who helped rescue Captain Richard Phillips from pirates off the coast of Somalia in 2009 that inspired the 2013 movie Captain Phillips. And another one of his most stunning and perhaps most recognizable accomplishments is being the man responsible for firing the bullet that killed the #1 terrorist in the world, Osama Bin Laden. He is a living, breathing American hero, and I am so honored to have him joining me today. This is Robert J. O'Neill's story on The Spillover. Robert, let's just start with why you decided to become a SEAL in the first place, because I heard it's kind of a juicy story.
Yeah, I thought it was juicy and unique at first because, long story short, I joined the Navy because I got dumped by a girl, by my high school sweetheart. She was a little younger than I was. I was in my first year of college, and I was actually playing college basketball in the same hometown, and I got dumped, and it was just one of those things that was the straw that broke the camel's back as far as I just got to get out of here. And I thought it was unique to me to just got to leave town. I find out later everywhere I went around the country, everybody gets to an age where I just got to get out of here. But the quickest way out of Butte, Montana, where I'm from, is to leave and join the Marine Corps. And I went to join the Marine Corps because I could leave that day, go to Parris Island, South Carolina, become a Marine. Because I'd seen the movies, I thought Marines looked cool. I'd seen their uniforms. Who doesn't think Marines, aren't awesome? I went down there. I learned very early on that sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good, because as luck would have it, the Marine recruiter was literally out to lunch, and the Navy guy was in there, and they had offices close to each other. And I had actually heard from two guys with whom I grew up that were 2 years older than me that always wanted to be Marines. A joke they had is that a lot of people don't know this. The Marine Corps is actually part of the Department of the Navy. It's just a men's department. And they were joking. And just because they said that, I figured, well, if anyone's going to know where the Marine is, the Navy guy will. So I walked in there and I said, hey, where's the Marine? He said, well, why do you want to be a Marine? I said, I want to be a sniper. I grew up here in Montana hunting. Marines have the best snipers in the world. He said, look no further. We have snipers in the Navy. You just need to become a Navy SEAL first. Now, I was never going to be in the military. I didn't know what a Navy SEAL was. I barely knew what a Marine was, and I didn't know how to swim. And he kind of brushed over the SEAL thing, but I remember looking at him and thinking, you know, I'm 19, I'm pretty naive, but this guy's a professional recruiter. Why in the world would he lie to me? So I went in there because of that bad relationship, being lucky, which eventually became part of my life, just being lucky. I figured I'll just join the Marine Corps, or the Navy now. And because they have snipers, I signed the paperwork, and it turns out he was lying to me. He had a quota to fill, but I'm in. I signed a contract. Now I guess I'm going Navy. And that was kind of it. And that was the first instance in my life where if you have a plan and you make a plan, God laughs at you because life happens around you.
Yep, I can relate to that.
Yep, and most people can't. And so I joined the Navy. I did find out what they do. I didn't think I was going to make it. But when I got to boot camp, which is basic training, the first place you go, Great Lakes, Illinois, I actually realized I was in a mixed division. So we had half of it were men, half of it were women. As I got to know these people, it seems like 95% of our all volunteer military were there because of a bad relationship.
Wow.
And the more places I've gone, and I'm talking Chicago, Illinois, Fredericksburg, Virginia, San Diego, everyone's had that moment in life where I just got to get out of here. And that's kind of when life starts. That's why some people take that year off of school. That's why some people join the military. But even some of the women that I met there were like, yeah, I got dumped by this guy. I had to join the Navy.
So explain what a Navy SEAL is for people that do not have family in the military and aren't familiar.
Okay. So every branch has their special forces. Like obviously the Army has Green Berets, they have Rangers. Marine Corps has Force Reconnaissance. Air Force has Pararescue. Navy has SEALs. And SEAL is an acronym like the animal, SEAL, but it stands for sea, air, and land. We specialize in the water because we're Navy, but we also skydive for air, and then land, we can work on land anywhere. We kind of specialize in that. So because we can do everything, it's the hardest military training in the world. It's about 8 months long from start to finish. You get there a few weeks early for prep. This is after boot camp. 8 months long, and the attrition rate is about 85% of the people don't make it through.
Why aren't they making it through? What is it about it that makes it so hard?
Well, an average day is you're not including waking up and brushing your teeth and all this stuff. You are at the workout at 5 a.m. Workout till about 6:30. You have to run a mile to breakfast, a mile back, and then you work out all day. Anything from 2-mile ocean swims to pool swims to different drills where they tie your hands behind your back and your feet together, throw you in a pool for an hour, and teaching you to exhale so you can sink, floating, tied up, swimming hundreds of meters, running around with boats on our heads for miles at a time, obstacle courses where if you fall off, you're going to break your neck, these big obstacles, like everything from high walls to high ropes to slide. They call it slide for life. You're always getting beat. You're always running wind sprints, and that's lunch.
Is that Hell Week, what you're describing?
We're not even at lunch yet on day one. Then you run a mile to the galley, the chow hall, to eat, and then a mile back. So it's a mile to the chow hall. So you got to figure you're running 6 miles a day just to eat.
Yeah, no way. That doesn't sound fun to me, but that was fun for you?
It's horrible. And they're very creative with the stuff that they do. They do like CrossFit workouts, but it's not fun. You're wet and sandy and cold the whole time. And that's Monday. And then Tuesday's the next day, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But then Hell Week is, for us, I think it was week 7. And that's when you wake up on Sunday and you don't sleep at all until Friday. And the whole time, now this whole week, there's 6 guys per boat crew. And that's a team. They're teaching how to be a team. And you're carrying these big, heavy boats on your heads to the point where by Wednesday, you got a bald spot it's rubbing constantly. And you hallucinate.
You mean a boat like you're underwater underneath a boat?
No. You're carrying boats over land.
Okay.
That's not normal, but that works your knees, your lower back, and you get stress fractures. you break toes, and it's just all the constant. But the thing, and there's very hard training. This is just the first few weeks. At the end of Hell Week, about most of the guys don't make it through Hell Week, and that's when you can sort of tell those guys might make it. But you still have another 20 weeks to go. The thing about it is it's a mind game, because you learn very early on that you can do anything if you keep your mind in it. Because if your mind goes, your body follows. You're not going to pull yourself through by strength. It's what's in your head. And so this course is very hard. It's in a lot of different movies. It's kind of famous. SEALs have become pretty famous. But the mentality, mindset is everything. When I first got there, once I got tricked by the recruiter, I didn't know how to swim.
Yeah, this is what I don't understand. You kind of ended up there by chance, and so you're going through like the worst. I mean, these are extreme circumstances. How is your mindset? How are you able to get through that? Because you were just like, I'm here because of a breakup.
Well, you got to, yeah. And again, from Montana, we don't swim up there. And I'd never seen the ocean. And I'm with guys that played water polo in college. Like, these guys were swimmers. But I had an instructor, I think it was the first day, he said, I know you've probably seen the movies or read the books. Regardless of what you've been told, this course is not impossible. People graduate. Look at me, I'm living proof. So I will never ask you to do anything impossible, but I will make you do something very hard, followed by something very hard, followed immediately by something even harder, day after day after day for 8 straight months. And that sounds like a lot to get from now to 8 months from now, but don't think about it that way. That is not how you achieve a long-term goal. I want you to do it like this. Wake up in the morning on time, make your bed the right way, and then brush your teeth. You just started the day with 3 victories. Make it to the 5 a.m. workout on time. And as I'm beating you, don't think about the pain. Concentrate on your next goal in life, which is making it to breakfast. After breakfast, make it to lunch. After lunch, make it to dinner. After dinner, do everything you need to do to get back inside that perfectly made bed. And because you took the time in the morning to make your bed the right way, regardless of how bad today was, and it will be bad, tomorrow is a clean slate. Tomorrow is a fresh start. And when you feel like quitting, which you will, do not quit right now. That's your emotion. Quit tomorrow. If you can keep quitting tomorrow, you can do anything in life.
And what year was this, you becoming a Navy SEAL?
Well, I started training in March of 1996. I graduated in December of 1996. And then I went to SEAL Team 2, and I had to do another year of training. So I became a Navy SEAL right around January of 1998, and then I went overseas the first time with a platoon at SEAL Team 2. Before 9/11, obviously, so we weren't at war. We were just trying to find work.
I remember 9/11 vividly. I was just a kid. I was in 3rd grade at the time. So where were you that day, and how did the tragic attacks actually impact the decisions that you made going forward in your career?
Well, again, when I said life happens around you as you're planning, my plan was to get out of town because I got dumped. Not become a Navy SEAL, because I won't, but I'll get on a ship and have sea stories and come back to Butte, Montana. But then I made it because that's the way God wanted it. I went to SEAL Team 2. I was like, well, I'll just stay for 4 years, go home. 4 years goes by like that. And when it was time for me to leave, I met all these guys that are Navy SEAls. They're such great dudes. I'm like, well, I'm young. I can't leave them. I'll re-enlist for 4 more years. I'll still be young. Re-enlisted, then 9/11. And now I'm like, I can't leave now. They taught me how to fight. So, and then I heard about SEAL Team 6, but I'll get into that in a minute. I was overseas. I was in Germany on September 11, 2001, and we had just finished a rotation to Kosovo. And if you're not familiar with Kosovo, there was a civil war there in Serbia, Yugoslavia, big civil war, ethnic cleansing, horrible stuff. The United States went in there to just try to split them up. So my job there, I had become a sniper. The recruiter didn't lie to me. I became a sniper after I became a SEAL. And our job wasn't to shoot people. It was just to observe. We're good at observing and measuring distances, making sure no one's hurting each other. And we thought that was as close to combat as we'd ever be. So Kosovo, which is, Southern Europe. Then we went back to Germany just to like clean our stuff and get ready to go back home to Virginia. And then I was sending out emails to people in the operations center, which is like one of those rooms that you see on TV where there's screens everywhere and smart people talking. And I'm just sending email, which, believe it or not, was fairly new. And I was watching TV, and they said, yeah, a small plane just hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And we looked up, and there's some SEALs in there. We're looking at it, and we're like, that's a huge building. That's a really big hole. I don't think that's not a Cessna. What is that? And then the second plane hit, and one of the guys immediately said Osama Bin Laden. this is Al Qaeda. Everyone's world just changed, and that's how it happened. So now, as opposed to thinking, do we go back to Virginia, or are they sending us to Sudan today? Are we going to Afghanistan? Is this the Iranians? And so we just knew everything changed. Again, I was supposed to get out, but now I got to stay.
And so then how did you find out that you were going to be now on this mission to find this guy, the number one terrorist in the world?
It was never, well, he was such a big target that it was always, well, I mentioned the Army Green Berets and Army Rangers. They've got there's 2 tier 1 units. That's the top units that we have in the military. One is Delta Force. They're pretty famous, but they're, you don't hear much about them because, unlike us, they don't tell stories. They just do their job. And then there's SEAL Team 6, which is another tier 1 unit. It was never going to be us because, we are sea, air, and land, but we're primarily there for hostage rescue at sea. Delta Force does stuff on land, and they're the ones that actually got Saddam Hussein. But I knew my chances would be better if I went to our tier 1 unit, which is SEAL Team 6. And that's a funny story too. Delta Force sounds cool. No one knows why it's called SEAL Team 6. I'll tell you a little story. When we started the SEAL Team, not we, but in 1980 when the SEAL Teams were started, SEAL Team 2 and SEAL Team 1 were the first ones. 2 on the East Coast, 1 on the West Coast. And they kept it that way. Odd numbers West, even numbers East. But so there was 1 and 2 at first. And then Richard Marcinko started SEAL Team 6 because he knew eventually the Russians would say there's SEAL Team 1, 2, and 6. Where the hell are 3, 4, and 5?
Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, now we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 8, 10, and then 6. And there's a couple different ones out there too. But that's why, and we just kept SEAL Team 6 because it sounded cool. So I just knew if I went there, and that was an entirely different, that was a longer, more difficult selection process to get to SEAL Team 6. 9 months long, but it's all Navy SEALs now, and it's all mind games and stress and a lot of tactics, and it's not to get too much into it, but it's skydiving and close quarters battle, like SWAT team style stuff. But they purposely trick you into thinking you screwed up, even though you didn't, to see how you handle it. And it's like, are you well, what they're trying to convince you is like, it's a training environment. So it's all self-induced stress, what you bring to yourself. But we're trying to find the person who can realize, and this is good advice, in life, all stress is self-induced stress. That stress is a choice. Stress is a bag of bricks that you can pick up in the morning if you want to and start your day off with a negative attitude, just like checking Twitter as soon as you wake up. Or at any time, you could put stress down and forget about it, and you should, because it's not helping and it's in your mind. It's like guilt. That play is over. You're not getting it back. There's no point in being guilt. Learn from your mistake and get over it. Whatever it is in life, get over it. Learn from it and get over it. I talk to NFL teams all the time, and I'll tell them, it doesn't matter why it's 2nd and 15. It just is. Now what do we do? Get over it. And then once the play's over, the game's over, now we can learn from it. Learn from your mistakes, move on. And, try not to do it again. So that the analogy that I've come up with to put stress in perspective is whether you're taking effective fire, like a gunfight on a mountain in Afghanistan, or you're the woman landing a jet on an aircraft carrier at night. Or you're the person making a latte at a coffee shop at 7 a.m. on a Monday, and there's a line of angry customers around the corner. What those 3 have in common is they only feel the amount of stress they allow themselves to feel, and that no one has ever accomplished anything positive by panicking. So that's kind of like we tell each other that panic is contagious.
So I'm guessing when you were told, hey, Robert, here's a fun thing, we thought maybe you could be on the team to go find Osama Bin Laden. Were you just like stress-free, no panic? All right, let's do it. Sure.
That's true. Well, they picked. So I was at SEAL Team 6 for a number of years, and we'd gone on deployment. We'd gone to war a bunch. I had over 400 combat missions before that mission, and like 2 of the missions I was on was the rescue of the lone survivor, Marcus Luttrell, famous story. And then I was the lead jumper to rescue Captain Richard Phillips from Somali pirates. So we were guys that did a lot of stuff. But it was one of the things where being afraid is fine. Like we learned, like people ask me all this nonsense you see on Instagram. What's it like to have no fear? I'm like, I don't know, because I was afraid every time. But that's okay, because fear is fine. It makes you think more clearly. Just don't panic because it's contagious. But you also learn that something else that's contagious is calm. It doesn't matter what you're feeling. If you portray calm, your people will be calm. So so we did all those missions, and then one day they picked us, and it was kind of like, all right, the way they told us was they just said that we found a thing, and this thing is in a house in a bowl, and this bowl is in a country, and you're going to go get this thing and bring it to us. That's what they told us.
What do you mean by thing?
They wouldn't tell us at first. They said a thing. So we're like, okay, are we going to go get Gaddafi, who was a guy in Libya?
Oh, so the thing wasn't a literal object. It was Osama Bin Laden was the thing.
Yeah. So we had to piece it together slowly, because we had about a week before they actually told us. And then and what's cool is when they told us, we actually found out it was a woman that found it. And there's one woman, if you or your listeners haven't seen the movie Zero Dark 30, highly recommend it. Jessica Chastain plays Maya, she's a real person, and not just toughest woman, she's probably the toughest person I've ever met. And she found him. She gave up her life to find him. She didn't have a husband, she didn't have kids, because she worked 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for years to find him. And she was right. And she was to the point where before we left, I was 100% convinced he was on the 3rd floor of that building, because she said so. And it was awesome. So when we went in, I mean, we expected to die because we're flying into Pakistan. We have these new helicopters that we don't know if they work. And, this is not a third world country. They have air defense made by Russia. They can shoot us down. When we get there's going to be a gunfight. If anyone's going to blow himself up in the entire building, it's him. We're going to run out of fuel because we don't have a way to get more gas. Like, we're going to end up in a Pakistani prison for our short lives. So we're not coming home from this one. So there wasn't fear. There was acceptance. But we're going because this is what we're here for.
Okay, so let's go to that day, the day that you're like, okay, now I have to complete this mission step by step, explain exactly what happened that day and night leading up to you killing the #1 terrorist in the world.
Well, just being, we're able to pick our missions when we want. And if you don't want to go on a mission, you don't have to. We fight on our terms. There are people out there, men and women, who have much more dangerous jobs than we did. So I did have a guy say to me, this is before we left, he said, okay, this is important to realize the mindset. These are real people that barely get paid, can barely afford their mortgage, and they're giving their lives for this stuff. And this guy said to me, don't take this the wrong way, because I'm going. 100% going. I just need to say this out loud to hear it. If we know we're going to die, why are we going? And that's fair. So we talked about it, and what we actually came up with, and one of these quotes is at the Memorial Museum in New York. We said, we're not going after Bin Laden for the fame, and we're not going after Bin Laden for the reward. We are going after Osama Bin Laden for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday. And then 45 minutes later, she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper, because that was a better alternative than whatever in the hell's going on inside at 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. She looked down and she made the choice and probably grabbed a stranger's hand. And her last gesture of human decency was holding her skirt as she killed herself. She was never supposed to be in the fight. We're supposed to be in the fight. And that is why we're going. So we had those conversations. And that's when it's like, we're doing this. So then, we said not our goodbyes, but to each other, because we've been on a lot of war. But as opposed to handshakes, we're hugging each other. It's like, all right, see you there. Have a good fight. I actually ran into Maya right before we left, and I said, hey, why are you nervous? And she goes, are you kidding me? Why aren't you nervous? And I said, well, I do this every night. I fly somewhere, we mess with people, we get the bad guys, we come home. And then I thought, well, you need to be right, so I get why you're nervous. Hopefully I see you in a few hours. And so we launched, and we got on the helicopters, and then we flew out of a place called Jalalabad, Afghanistan, we had a secret base there right next to the border. And that's where a lot of these CIA people were monitoring. So we took off from there, and then we went into Pakistan, and we had a 90-minute flight to get to his house. And again, we could get shot down at any time, but if you're worrying about something, and this is good advice for life, if you're worrying about something that your worry is not going to affect, stop worrying. You're wasting your energy. So we weren't worrying about a missile hitting us, because that's not going to stop a missile. So block it out. I was looking around at my buddies. I had a guy who put his headphones in, fell asleep.
What was he listening to? Do you know?
One guy said he was listening to Quiet Riot or something like that, like old school heavy metal band. The last song I listened to was Red Nation by The Game.
Oh my gosh, that is so sick. I love that.
And it turned out, because we were Red Squadron, Red Nation, and he even said, I killed Satan. Like, that's just so cool. But I was listening to that. And so this guy fell asleep. So I got the dog Cairo, Belgian Malinois Cairo, next to me. And my buddy's asleep. And I'm like, you were asleep literally on the ride to Bin Laden's house. Man, you have ice in your veins. And so, but what I was doing is what I had learned as a sniper, especially in Kosovo, when I said we were just watching things for hours at a time, I learned to calm your mind, you count. So what I was doing, I'm sitting there and I got a little teeny tripod hunting chair in this helicopter, and I'm counting 0 to 1,000, and then 1,000 to 0, 0 to 1,000. I'm just keeping my mind off the missiles, steady breath, whatever. If we get hit, we'll never know it. And then we got 80 minutes in, we banked to the south, 10 minutes out. And this sounds Hollywood. I don't know how I remembered it, but I'm counting and I'm like 556, 557. Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended. And I don't know how I remembered it, but I have a tattoo. I tattooed that on my arm. That's what President Bush said on 9/11 to address the world. Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended. And that's when it hit me. For real. I'm like, wow, I'm on this mission. We're going to kill this guy. So I'm now getting amped up. We do one more turn to the south. The door opened, and I'm looking out. So the door of the helicopter is open. It's on the side. I'm looking out, and now it's like there's electricity. I know there's a golf course right there. Abbottabad, Pakistan's a resort town, right?
Yeah, I'm shocked by this. Okay, you're telling me there's golf courses and I pictured this like a little stone house in the middle of the desert.
That's what Western Iraq and Afghanistan look like. This is Pakistan. Pakistan's a first world country. Pakistan's the center of the universe over there.
So is this a nice house?
Yeah, it was 3-story house. It was a collection of houses. It was a guest house, the big house. There's a garage, there's a garden, a satellite dish. But I remember looking out there and I was like, this is my last laugh. I'm like, this is some serious Navy SEAL shit we're about to do. Like, this is why we're here. And we had the perfect plan that we rehearsed. And the plan was, I was in the second one. The first one is going to go in, they hover, they kick ropes out. Keep it simple. Ropes go out, grab the rope, slide down like a fireman's ball. That's what we're going to do. That first one in front of his house, we're going to put a couple guys outside, like snipers and Cairo, the dog, in case he needs to catch someone. And then they're going to put my team up on the roof. We're going to fast rope, jump down to his balcony, however we can get there, and then we're going to hit him this way. Navy SEAling, right? That didn't even come close to happen. We actually, before we left, because we trained on this for a couple of weeks, one of the bosses before we left said, what's the worst thing that could happen? And the youngest guy in the room said, the helicopter could crash in the front yard. And we're like, why would you jinx us? But that's what happened.
You crashed?
The first helicopter, he didn't quite crash, but the pilot realized, just a weird, pilots are amazing. They know so much more stuff than I know anyway. There was a weird updraft. It was 3 degrees warmer, so they're not cutting the wind. And he realized if he powered up, he'd flip it, kill everybody on his helicopter. So he turned it, and this is all in the blink of an eye. He turned it and realized if he put the tail of the helicopter down and hit the nose into the dirt, it might not flip. So he did that. So now
okay, but this whole time I thought you guys jumped from the sky so you could be real sneaky and sneak up to the house.
We didn't have a choice. We had to fly right into his front yard.
But then they had to have heard you. It's a helicopter.
They heard 2 of them, yeah. They heard us first. Well, they heard the first one crash, and then they were going to put us outside. So there's a big wall, and they put us out here, and my team was going to go up. But this pilot saw him, so he's like, I can't hover. So he just put us down. And we just realized from training together so much, he's telling us to get out, we'll just get out. I remember putting my first foot out of the helicopter, looking at Bin Laden's house. I'm like, well, I guess we start the war from here. Again, doesn't matter why we're here, we just start. Let's do it. So we knew there was a door off to this side that we could put a big bomb. We can get in anywhere. And I knew a guy who had a big bomb. He put it on this door, it blew it. It didn't open because there was a brick wall behind it. And he turned around, and it's called a breach. And what he said, because of training, he goes, failed breach, failed. This is bad. And I said, no, this is good. That's a fake door. He's in there. No one does this. So then I said, okay, I know another door that opens for sure, because that's the carport with the garage.
Okay, so pause. How do you know all this? Did you have to study maps of his house?
The woman that found him showed us these images, and we just studied it. So we didn't know the interior of the house, but we knew the exterior. Here's where the doors are. Here's where this is. Here's where we think this is. Here's where he walks. So I can close my eyes and see it anytime I want. So we just knew this one opened. We were just closer to that one. Doesn't open. We didn't know that from the air. Now we'll blow this one. Now, again, I didn't know. So the helicopters, we called them, it's simple, -1, -2, 1 and 2. I didn't know they crashed. And I heard, when I was doing all other stuff, I heard them saying -1 going around, -1 going around. because I assumed he took fire and they're going to do a big racetrack and come re-attack. But what they were saying was Dash 1 going down. So I didn't hear it right. I didn't know they're in there. And I said, hey, this is so-and-so. I'm going to blast the carport. And I heard someone say, don't blast it. We'll open it. And before I could process that, the doors opened and a thumb came out with a glove that I recognized. And I still didn't know they crashed. But again, I'm like, it doesn't matter why they're there or how they got there. They're just there. This is just reality. Now let's go. So I heard gunfire. There was a couple explosions. My guys are already in Bin Laden's house. So I'm like, I guess I'm going in that house. We went in there. And these are the stories that happen because sometimes the craziest, most stressful situations brings out the darkest yet funniest humor. So we're in here and I'm watching dudes do their stuff. I'm kind of far back looking down a hallway. Other guys, at first I'm seeing guys that already shot some people, but I'm watching Americans grab kids that got separated from their parents and pick them up and run them across a danger area to give them to an older family member because they don't want the kids to be afraid. And that's a prime example of what the good guys do. That's what we do. Al-Qaeda wouldn't do that for us. We are the good guys. So I'm back in a room watching, just proud of my guys, how smart, how good. Like we could blow up, but they're not worried about that. They're just doing the way, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. If you want to be fast, slow down. So anyway, I'm in this room and this guy said, he goes, helicopter crashed. And he was on the helicopter. And so I go, what helicopter crashed? And he goes, bro, our helicopter crashed in the front yard. Like, I think you walked right past it. And it started to register. I'm trying, like, well, I was looking that way. As we're saying this, the sniper and the dog Cairo were running like the huge wall outside. Their plan was to run around it twice so that in case anyone ran out, they could grab them. He didn't know they crashed. So he gets to the point where the tail is over the fence. So he's on this side, house is here. The tail of the helicopter's right here. And he just came over and said, guys inside, be on alert. They're ready for us. They have a training mock-up of our super secret helicopter in the front yard. And the boss came over, like something to train. The boss came over and goes, no, Jack, that's ours because we crashed. And the sniper said, yeah, that makes a lot more sense than I was just saying. And it's like, what are we talking about? So anyway, so we're in there, and then the guys are working. They had a couple barricaded doors. We know how to get through this because at this point now, we've done this so many times. This is easy. Now, the woman that found Bin Laden said, I don't know where it is, but when you get inside, there will be a stairwell. And it goes to the second floor. And on that second floor, you will find Khalid Bin Laden. That's Osama Bin Laden's 21-year-old son. He'll be there. He'll be armed. And here's how cool she was. She said, if you can ace him, you get a shot at the big guy. Which that's cool. So sure enough, he was there. And it was at this point, we had quieted down. It's still dark. We don't talk when we're inside. We're very quiet. And the guy up, I'm like 8 guys back. The guy up front, he whispered something to him to confuse him. He came out with a gun. The guy shot him. So he's dead. Then we go up to the second floor. There's one more floor to go. And the guys in front of me split off to the left and right because the way our tactics work is you clear an entire floor before you move up. You want nothing behind you that's unknown. So they cleared off and it's down to 2 of us. There's one guy pointing up and there's me looking back. And the way it works is I'll hold his shoulder and he points up. And when we have enough guys, he doesn't need to turn around and look. I just squeeze him. He knows we're going. But I don't have any guys. Now we're out of guys. And he's looking up. At the top of the stairs, there's a curtain instead of a door. It looks like a shower curtain, but it's dark green. And he just started saying, hey, we got to go, man. We got to go. Because he's seeing people moving behind it, and he assumes those are the suicide bombers. And what he's telling me in so many words is, but we can beat them, but we got to go now. We got to go. And I'm looking. And finally, and this is my version of the story. So we're serious. And he finally said, hey, man, these is getting truculent. So I have my hand on his shoulder. And here's, again, no, this is going to be my last laugh in life because this is it. And I whispered in his ear, I said, I don't think that word means what you think it means. And then it wasn't bravery. It was like, okay, I'm just tired of thinking about blowing up. So I squeezed him. He went up. I'm right behind him. He moved that curtain and he tackled the people that he thought were suicide bombers, which is still the bravest thing I've ever seen because he's trying to absorb whatever might blow up for the guy behind it. He didn't know it was me. He just knew it was one of his guys. So he did that. And because he went this way, I went that way. And standing there 3 feet away is Osama Bin Laden in a doorway of his bedroom. And he has his hands on his wife Amal's shoulders. And I don't know if he's pushing her toward me, but there's like 3 feet. And she's short, he's tall. And I looked at him, and my thought process was, he's taller than I thought, he's skinnier than I thought. That's his beard, it's white, weird, he's not surrendering. That's his nose, that's him. He's a threat, so I had to engage. So I shot him twice in the head, and I shot him one more time, and now he's dead. And then I'm moving his wife out of the way. Because again, she's not a threat. I don't want her to be in danger. There's going to be more guys with guns coming up. And then I'm moving her to the back of the room where the bed is so I can sit her down. And this is the part that's weird, that there's a human element involved with this. It's not Hollywood at all. Anytime you take a human life, it's you think, especially later, like now. But his 2-year-old son is standing there. And as I'm a father, I look at this kid and I thought, this kid has nothing to do with this. So I picked him up, I put him next to his mom, and I turn around, and other Navy SEALs are now coming in, and we have to do some tactics called sensitive site exploitation. Now we got to find stuff. But this is when it sinks in, and I'm thinking, oh, is this the worst thing I've ever done or the best thing I've ever done? And I'm sort of standing there, and a buddy comes up to me, Navy SEAL, so obviously very good looking. And
we love to hear that.
So he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, I don't think so. What are we supposed to do now? And he smiled and he said, now we find the computers. Like, we do this every night. You've done this hundreds of times. And I said, yeah, you're right. I'm back. Holy shit. And he goes, yeah, you just killed Osama Bin Laden. Your life just changed. Now get to work.
Woo! I have to cheer. I have to cheer. So when he says you've done this every night, it's because you guys were practicing like simulations?
No, we've done this where we go into people's houses, we shoot the bad guys, we save the kids, we grab the computers, and we leave. And we've done it in Iraq, Western Iraq, Afghanistan, other parts of the world, Yemen. We do this. And that's why they pick the most experienced guys, because this is normal. But now it's like, I was in a daze, and he goes, come on, you're good. We do this all the time. Like, yeah, we found the computers, of course. And so then we went through, we found everything, and then we had to blow up the first helicopter because we're not leaving it there for China or whatever. So that means we have to call another helicopter in. So our helicopter grabbed the first group of guys, took them out with the body. Another helicopter came to get us, full of Navy SEALs, which I think is cool that SEAL Team 6 was rescued by SEAL Team 6. Like, other guys came in to get us, and then we flew out. And so that's a part of the mission where we're supposed to be dead, but now we might live.
Now, I'm going to ask you something that's probably going to piss you off, but I just have to ask it because people are idiots. How do you know it was you that landed the kill shot?
Well, because he was standing there. He hadn't been hit. And it's one of those things now that it's hard to be the only person in the world to see something and convince people. I mean, imagine being like Neil Armstrong. Well, you didn't land on the moon. Well, whatever. I mean, I don't really care because as far as I'm concerned, the team got him, and not just the team. Like, Maya found him. The woman found him. She just told us where. I was smart enough to carry a sledgehammer and a gun, and I turned a corner because of someone that was brave, and I just shot him because that's it. So I mean, we got. And again, once you get into we got him, someone you'll get these questions like, well, how do you know it was him? Maybe it's fake. Maybe blah blah blah. Because a lot of people on the right hate that Obama ordered it. So
I know, and that's the thing is I've been a conservative my whole life, and even as I'm sitting there in class as a senior in high school and find out that we killed him, I remember literally saying in my head, like, well, Obama's president, but you know what? This is still such a great moment for our nation.
I'll tell you what, he handled that the way a great president should, nonpartisan at all. Because you got to figure he's a partisan guy. We know that he's liberal as they come. But if he truly cared about politics on that night, if we failed, he would not have been reelected. There's no doubt about it. But he knew that was what to do, and he took advice from both the left and the right, and realized this is more important than politics. And that doesn't happen anymore.
Right,
but he really did, and he was. I mean, he even he beefed us up with more assets. That's why we actually got out, because he told us to have more helicopters. Like, he literally said, my guys aren't surrendering to anyone. Like, he pulled the good part of Chicago politics out there. Like, okay, we want to fight, we're going to fight. Again, I disagree with most of the stuff he did, but when I dealt with him for this, he handled it like a professional. He handled it like a president. And, but again, people get partisan now. Everything as far as they shot down the guys that killed Bin Laden and all that shit. And I'll be honest, some people say, you didn't kill Bin Laden. I'm like, you know what? I wish I didn't, because I could be retired on a beach in Coronado with a cigar and a mustache. No one would know who I am. It's fine. But and also, my story is the only one that's approved by the Pentagon, the CIA, SEAL Team 6. Like,
why? What do you mean your story is the only one approved?
Well, people have written books that they've taken them to the bank. They've taken all their money from them. Like, oh, they're lucky they're not in jail. Like,
Because they shared too much?
No, they just told stories that aren't true.
Oh, wait a minute. So if you are a Navy SEAL and you publish a book or something, you say some stuff that happened that was not true, you can get in trouble?
I would recommend anyone in the military that writes a book, which is fine, submit it through the process. There's a process at the Pentagon. The Department of Defense has an entire place that does it. They go through it, and every part that's mentioned, they'll submit it to that group. So they go through it just to make sure nothing comes out that is wrong or puts people in danger.
And you do have a book. You do have a book about your experience, correct?
Yeah, my book's called The Operator.
Okay, cool.
And that went through the process, and it's the only one that's approved. And there's other books, like Chris Wallace wrote a book called Countdown Bin Laden. My story's in there. Amal Bin Laden, the wife, wrote an article in a Saudi Arabian or Iranian newspaper. It's my exact story from the opposite end, which is crazy.
Wait, what did she say? I want to know what her perspective was.
I think Bin Laden said her husband, because he had 3 wives. She was the one that was in the bedroom. The last thing he said to her was, "They're not here for you. They're here for me."
So he knew.
Yeah, I think so. But again, I don't care. I don't care. I'm telling whoever wants to hear what happened. I told them because of the people that lost loved ones in the towers on Flight 93, because I had people tell me it's so good to see a face with the mission for healing, not closure. There will never be closure, but healing. So that's it. It's like, you know what? If you don't believe me, that's on you. I'm not going to lose sleep over. I know what happened. I realized no one else saw it. Well, the only person that saw it wrote an article, and she said the exact same thing.
So what are you guys saying to each other once you're getting in the helicopter to get out of there? Once the mission is completed, it's over, then what do you say?
This is where it gets cool. This is why they should have let me help on one of these movies, because they're better. The jokes are better. I get in there, and the guy I'm sitting next to, if you're not familiar with our rescue of Captain Richard Phillips, he was a captain of a ship that got pulled by Somali pirates off the east coast of Africa. A lot of weird stuff went down before they flew us over. There was a Navy ship, a destroyer, pulling this lifeboat. The pirates are in there with Captain Phillips. We flew over from Virginia. I was in my daughter's Easter tea party at her preschool on Good Friday, my birthday, April 10th. So we fly from there. 16 hours later, we're all in there. Anyway, long story short, there was a sniper that shot these guys, and he didn't know how do you deal with that? At the time, that's before Bin Laden. And he didn't know, he's same thing, a bunch of grief from other people. And I kept telling him, hey man, don't sweat it. You're a hero. Don't let anyone bring you down. You were a hero. So fast forward to 2009, we're flying out of the Bin Laden raid. He was on that mission. I'm sitting next to him. He handed me his can of Copenhagen, and he said, take one of mine. Now you know what it's like to be a hero. And we're sitting there, and we know, because we accepted death, but if we can live for 90 minutes and we cross that border back into Afghanistan, we get 50 years. I get to see my kids again. We get to see our families again. So we're flying back. But again, worrying about a missile is not going to stop it. We know now they're scrambling jets, and they're going to catch us. But I can't worry about it. So we sat there in whatever kind of, not silence, but more noise, really loud noise, because the helicopter's flying as fast as it can. And so we just started our watches, and we're just watching. And we know we got to get to 90 minutes. That's it. So we're just sitting there. I took one of his Copenhagens. It's like, all right, 10 minutes. All right, guys, it's been 20 minutes. And we're just looking at 30 minutes. Now it's been 40. Now it's been 50 minutes. Now it's been 60 minutes. We got to get to 90. And it's like, you start thinking about watching like a baseball game, top of the 7th, a no-hitter. I'm not going to say anything. Don't want to jinx it. But 70 minutes, 80 minutes. We got to get to 90. And then if you're not familiar with Miracle on Ice, when Team USA Hockey was beating Russia in the 1980 Olympics, Lake Placid, they're not supposed to win this game, but they're up 4-3, 10 seconds left, and you can hear the countdown, 10, 9, we can still screw this up. They're all nervous, 6-5, and they win. The pilot came over the radio at 85 minutes into our flight, and he said, very monotone, all right, gentlemen, for the first time in your lives, you're going to be happy to hear this. Welcome to Afghanistan. And then we did it. That's it. Wow. So we land. Both helicopters land. We showed Maya the body. Again, why I should have helped with the movie, because here's how tough she was. We had a moment, the guy and I, that went up the stairs, and we're talking what just happened, and he goes, well, there she is. So we walked over to her, and again, watch Zero Dark 30 to get a respect for how awesome she was. But the problem in the movie was when they showed her the body, she cried and left.
That doesn't seem real.
No, not at all. We walked over to her. My buddy said, you got to give her something, So I took the magazine out of my gun. I handed it to her, and then we said, do you have room for this? And she said, yeah. We said, well, we have something to show you. So we walked her over to the body, and as we're walking over, that's when we start to realize how important this mission is, and it's she did it. And then me being the arrogant Navy SEAL, I put the pressure on myself, I got to think of something cool to say. And so we walked over, and I thought this would have been good enough. We pointed down, I pointed at him, and I looked at her, and all I said was, "Is that your guy?" She looked down for a second. Keep in mind, she gave up her life. She went down for a second and went, I guess I'm out of a job.
Because it's done. She did it.
What? Yeah. I didn't even, how, your life's work, your passion, you did it, it's over. I did it. And left and flew home. How cool is she?
That is so cool. And so, and I have to know what happened to his body after you all killed him, because this is another point of contention and conspiracy is what the heck did they do with it? Was he really dead? Did anyone ever verify?
Yep. So we took him from Jalalabad up to Bagram Airfield, and that is another podcast I could talk about what happened there. We put him down. All the stuff that we gathered, we put in different tables. We have them lined up for which building, which floor. He's laying here. The three-letter agency, the smart guys, the scientists, the cops are there, and they're taking the picture. We already have pictures of him, but they're taking the picture of him, doing real DNA tests. They're on the phone with the president. They brought us breakfast. And again, this is the whole how life happens around you as you're planning. I'm still wearing my gear. They got us these breakfast sandwiches. I was putting hot sauce on it. Bin Laden's body's right here. We have a TV on. The president walks down the white carpet or the red carpet, and we can hear him say, "Tonight I can report to the American people and to the world, the United States conducted an operation that killed Osama Bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda." I hear the president say Osama Bin Laden. I look at Osama Bin Laden, and I remember saying to myself, how in the world did I get here from Butte, Montana? So then, and that's weird. That's that my plan was I got dumped. Now I'm a Navy SEAL in Bin Laden's bedroom. Now we're back.
And now you're having an Egg McMuffin next to his dead body.
Seriously. And so then we handed him off to our friends from the Army, and they flew him. I think it was to the USS Vincennes. Might have been something else. And then they threw him overboard, and that's what happened.
So he just rotted in the ocean.
I guess so. And I disagreed with doing that. And again, I hope they release the pictures. If they do, by the way, those are my gloves, which I still have, holding his head together. I'm convinced at some point someone will need to be reelected, and they'll release the pictures. It was my decision, something like that. But yeah, they put him at sea, and I disagreed with that because if you understand their version of Sunni Islam, they didn't want there to be a shrine. They don't make shrines to people. They worship one God. That's it. That's why a lot of Muslims get mad when you draw a picture of Muhammad, because they don't want you worshiping false idols. That's why they get so angry. There is a law. That's it. They would never worship him, but they threw him at sea. That's that. I disagree.
Why did you disagree with that? What did you think should have happened to his body?
Well, I don't give a shit if he gets a proper burial. I really don't care. I mean, I had some morbid stuff we could have done to him because what he did to 9/11. But there should have been proof that there is proof. And there are pictures of him in a file cabinet at the CIA, in a file cabinet, not even in a frame, just sitting there.
Whoa.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, people know. I mean, there are people in the government right now that have seen the pictures that I know personally. A lot of congressmen have seen them, people on the Intel committee, stuff like that.
Okay, so speaking of intel, I want to know your intelligence on Osama bin Laden's actual involvement in 9/11 and just the development of the Afghanistan war in general. I mean, was Osama bin Laden actually the main culprit, or was he just the symbol for the media to focus on?
Well, he was the leader of Al-Qaeda, and they came up with the ideas. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was another one of the guys, KSM, who's in, as far as we know, he's in Guantanamo Bay. They'll probably just release him like they do to everybody else because, the real bad guy's us. But yeah, he was funding it. He was leading it. It was up to him, and he knew the entire plan. He was behind the 93 attack when they said they're going to put a bomb in the basement, which they did. It was going to knock one tower into the other, which it didn't. And they came back like they always do. They haven't forgotten about us. They're going to come back. So he was the head of Al-Qaeda. It was his mission. Some other people planned it. Some guys carried it out. And, they haven't forgotten about us. That's the sad part.
And so do you think that the government is hiding information from the American public about 9/11? I have to ask you that.
You know what? I hope not. I think we were taken by surprise. I think there's bad stuff that happened because of it. Like invading Iraq. I was there. I fought in Iraq a lot. But looking back on it, what was that all about? Phony intelligence because of personal vendetta. No, we needed to go into, we didn't do it right. We did it right at first. You got to hit Al-Qaeda out of Afghanistan. But even the Taliban's told us if they thought we were serious, they would have just given us Al Qaeda. They all went into Pakistan. We knew it. We just weren't taking them. We start to play too nice. We get too many lawyers and politicians involved, like we do in everything, and they screw it up.
Is there a safety threat that you have to deal with now in your everyday life because you killed the #1 terrorist in the world?
Yeah, every day. I mean, I've had to take precautions. I can't get into a lot of the security thing. I know how to deal with these people, and I know how to do security, personal security. You know, I'll have guns or guys with guns with me places I go, and I move people around, and cameras and dogs and things like that. But I'm aware of it. I'd rather be aware of a threat than put my head in the sand and pretend there's not one. You got to figure Al Qaeda wouldn't. I mean, they'd kill me, but they're not going to wait for me to come out of Fox News or something when they can go 3 blocks away and kill as many people in Times Square as they can. And everyone's a threat. Like you're a female on TV, they'd kill you too. Like
wow!
I had an interview with a woman in Dubai, and I told her, like, you're easier to kill than I am, and they hate you just as much because it's because we go against their version of their religion.
Right.
So it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, what color your skin is, or your sexual orientation. They want to kill you because you don't believe what they do.
Is there actually a bounty on your head from them?
I don't know. I think there has been, but I've been fortunate that people that have said it have been killed in drone strikes.
Right. Okay, so truly, how bad was President Biden's Afghanistan debacle?
Horrible. It was the worst thing. If you sat with some of the best military minds, like we did for the Bin Laden raid, you sat that group down and said, what's the worst thing we can do? We would have come up with that plan. I'm serious. That plan was so bad. And General Milley, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, if he told the president to do that, and he did, he should be fired. If he told the president not to do that, and the president did it anyway, he should just resign, because that is the worst. 13 people died in the blink of an eye for no reason. Not only was it preventable, it was predictable, and we could. I told him, I said it before it was going to happen, and it's just sad. And again, it was done for political reasons. We lose everything because of people in suits in the Beltway. And that includes the generals, the horrible people that haven't won a war since World War II. And the only reason we won World War II is because we had a politician with the stones to drop nukes, and that's it. The way you beat force is with force at the point of origin. That's it. And it sucks. As someone who's been to war, killed a bunch of people, I wish there was no war. I don't wish war on anyone. You shouldn't see it because it's fast, it's loud, it's permanent. It's not unnecessary. Like one of my favorite jokes is, we should have women in charge, seriously, because we wouldn't have war, but we would have countries that don't talk to each other for a few months.
Very true.
Never lose your sense of humor is one of my points.
So, okay, I just don't understand what's going on with the culture in our military, because when I talk to you, Robert, I mean, I get a true sense of patriotism from you, a love of country, and what the hell is going on now with our military members?
It's the leadership, it's not it's the senior leadership, because at some points it becomes political, and if you don't say the right thing to the woke culture, you won't get promoted. It's all about personal power and how much money can I make when I get out working for a contract. It's like what the military-industrial complex exists because, like, why did we leave all those helicopters, tanks, guns, and vehicles in Afghanistan? Oh, because when they get out, now look, I have the job. I guess we better get a big $100 million contract. Look who gets part of that. More stuff. Like, that's what they're doing. The people that are in charge shouldn't be in charge. It should be men and women who have been on the ground making the decisions that's right for the greater good of the country. When we were in the military, we were equal opportunity. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation, your race, where you're from, what you look like. If you live up to the standards, welcome aboard. That's it. That's how simple it was. But now, because of the woke culture, because you need to say the right thing, it's become it's a experimentation ground for anything. Everything from, even when we invaded Iraq, it wasn't coronavirus, it was anthrax. And we all got anthrax because someone in the government owned part of the company.
Right.
It's someone's getting kicked back from somewhere else. And because personal power has gotten away from, and the problem is it takes an attack to bring us all together. I don't want another 9/11, but I'd love another 9/12.
Right. So how at risk is our national security right now with all of this woke culture stuff infiltrating the military?
Well, people are going to leave. The good people are going to leave.
But isn't that part of the plan, is to make sure that you only have people in the police and the military to carry out your agenda?
I don't know what the. I wish I knew what the plan was. I don't know. I memean, I've seen enough to know that there's bad stuff going on the other end, and it's the problem with the country and in Washington is not the person who's in the White House for 4 or 8 years. It's the person who's in the Capitol for 50 years. There's your problem.
Absolutely.
And that's what's happening now. I wish I had an answer. I've been tempted to maybe run, but I don't want to be a part of that. Washington D.C. physically makes me ill. I'll look at the Capitol. I go there quite a bit, by the way, and I will look at the Capitol. My first thought is, this is why we can't have nice things.
Well, I think, Robert, you just personal experience here today. You are so entertaining to listen to. You should do a podcast.
That's in the works, maybe, because it's nice to have a platform. Because like I said, I've been on Fox, CNN, I'm on different channels, and I get 3 minutes, and then I say something or Twitter, and all of a sudden I'm canceled. It's like,
you're a trip on Twitter. I love following you on Twitter. So one last thing I want to ask you. What message would you like to leave with young people who don't see the value in the freedom that they have here in America?
Travel. True poverty is not getting a free check, but you have an iPhone and an Escalade. True poverty is I can't have clothes and my kids play in a literal cesspool. And I'm not saying go to those places, but educate yourself and not buy stuff that's required reading. Go see other people. And also, not even that, but as opposed to Instagram, I didn't know everyone I knew had a private jet until I got on Instagram. Wow. And other than cable news and social media, most people are actually really good. I get a fly all the time. I talk to thousands of people face to face a week. Most people are good. I have friends, believe it or not, who are liberals. We get along great. It's funny. Like we don't argue and hate each other. We're like, well, that's an interesting point.
Because true liberals do believe in free speech and hearing other opinions. It's the left that doesn't.
Well, exactly. I say most people are more liberal than they realize. Figure this. Al-Qaeda is very, very conservative. That's bad. Leftists are very, very left. That's bad. Most of us are right in here. Most of us are literally like, look, I disagree with that, but if you're not hurting anyone, fine. But when you start to hurt other people or you need to impose your will on other people, that's the problem. But so travel, get outside and realize seriously, most people are good. The point that I make is real America is not the paid mobs tearing down statues. Real America is the people that start a convoy in San Diego, drive through California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, pick up more people because they're on their way to help hurricane victims in Florida. That's real America. And we're all like that. That's real people. That's what we're like. And people are good. Don't believe all this nonsense.
Robert,
unless me on Twitter, 100% true.
Yeah. So speaking of Twitter, what is your Twitter and then the name of your book once again?
Okay. So the Twitter is @McHooyah, MCHOOYAH. I need to tell you how I got that name. Before I left the Navy, my buddies were saying, hey, there's this new thing called Twitter. You got to get on it. Make up a fake name. You can mess with people. They'll never know who you are.
A burner account.
Yeah, that's right. So I came up with Hooyah because SEALs say Hooyah, and I'm Irish, so Mick Hooyah. And I got out, and my name leaked as Killing Bin Laden. I woke up with like 15,000 followers. I'm like, I'm Mick Hooyah. So @McHooyah on all my social media is Mick Hooyah. And then the book is called The Operator by Robert O'Neill. And I have a new thing I'm doing because of the process to get it approved. It was a bestseller, but it didn't really get out there. So what I do on my website is, so that's robertjoneil.com. You can buy a signed book, and I just signed a ton of them today. But my catch is I will seriously sign anything you say. Think of something clever, and I'll sign it in there just for a joke. I had a dude the other day that said, it was a birthday gift for his buddy. I had a sign, Ken, you kill it selling mattresses like I killed Bin Laden. Like, just ridiculous. So it's fun, a lot of fun.
That's such a great Christmas gift idea, actually, for people to keep in mind. Robert, thank you so much for your service. Happy Veterans Day, and thank you for coming on the Spillover.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for having me, Alex. Appreciate it.
So that was badass. An actual American hero, ladies and gents. We love to see it. So grateful to him. Make sure that you think a veteran in your life this weekend. Share this episode with them and any military wives you know. If you're a military wife, thank you also. You sacrifice a lot, and military wives do not get enough credit. I will be the first to say. You are way more of a stronger woman than I could ever dream to be. You are absolutely incredible. Post this episode to your stories, and if you love The Spillover, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so that the new episodes automatically download to your phone and you don't have to go searching. It's way more convenient. Next week is going to be a very spicy episode. See, The Spillover is named The Spillover because this is all the conservatee that can't fit into a politics episode, which is my daily show. Probably next week is going to be extremely controversial, even amongst Christians, and I live for drama, so I am stoked for this. I'm going to make some people feel uncomfy. It's also going to open some people's minds that may have no idea that what they're doing on a daily basis is actually dabbling in the dark arts. Ooh, I've said too much already. That's coming out 1 week from now on Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Let my bosses know that you love The Spillover by leaving a 5-star review. That is the best way to support us. You can also watch my daily show Politics on Instagram, where I cover pop culture without the leftist propaganda every day for 10 minutes. You can watch this episode of The Spillover, by the way, on the Politics YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Ride around the city with a stick all black. Try with a poker, we with all that. Yeah.
Hey there, it's Jon Root. Before you get your weekend started, tune into the newest episode of Politics, where host Alex Clark will tell you all about why she loves Nicole Kidman, why she thinks we should defund crying on camera. She'll share her Freak of the Week and so much more pop culture without the propaganda. Next on Politics.
This is their plan, people. These are demons. Just like the Bible says, it's basically an intergalactic invasion into this space through people. I'm telling you, it's what all the ancients said. It's what they warned of. It's what we're dealing with. They're demons. They're frickin' interdimensional invaders, okay? I'll just say it. Make fun of me all you want on CNN or wherever, but everyone already innately knows this. These people are not frickin' humans, okay? Hillary Clinton is a god demon.
Elijah Schaefer from Slightly Offensive posted that, and I legit almost peed my pants from laughing so hard.
I could pee a little bit in my underwear, and no one will mind.
Today's show is really fun. It has a lot of topics that are interesting but easy to listen to, and the kind of discussions that I know you like. First up is the trailer Nicole Kidman posted for the movie Being the Ricardos, where she plays Lucy, as in I Love Lucy. Holy cow, was it not what I was expecting? Must discuss. Then I'm probably gonna have to call out some of you. Bella Hadid did something that I see a lot of people I know doing on social media, and it has to stop. This celebrity got a nose job and it changed her entire face. I'm extremely sad about it. And then last but not least is the Freak of the Week. Any guesses who it will be? Shouldn't be too hard to guess. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Politics. I knew that Nicole Kidman was going to be depicting I Love Lucy, you know, the character Lucy Ricardo, in this new film coming out called Being the Ricardos, about Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, but I had no idea that it was gonna be a drama.
This is places for scene A. Scene A.
Action!
Lucy, I'm home.
Why is this coming out now?
Lucille Ball's a threat to the American way of life?
Does the FBI have any case against Lucy?
I need you to help me save my marriage.
How many times I gotta explain where I was and what I was doing?
You gotta explain.
Are you being funny right now?
I'm Lucille Ball. When I'm being funny, you'll know it.
This is getting out of hand.
Madness.
Have you been cheating on me?
The story's made up.
If they boo me?
If they boo you, we're done.
Sorry, I got lost for a second.
Oh my gosh, this movie comes out in theaters December 10th and will be available to rent on Amazon Prime December 21st, just in time to watch with your family at Christmas. I did not know that Lucille Ball was investigated by the FBI for registering as a member of the Communist Party, and I had no idea about the juicy drama between her and Desi on and off set. Looks wicked good, right? Like 5 stars good.
25 years.
Sounds longer when you say it.
Can I say something that is probably gonna make some of you feel attacked? It is so cringy to me when people share selfies of themselves crying on social media. I mean, does no one cry in the shower anymore?
Whatever happened to live as a team, die as a team? It's a sham, okay? There's no such thing as a team. You live and die alone. Do you see what you're doing to him? You're making him upset. How important is this to you, huh? I don't even cry. Look at me. You're about to make tears come out of my face. I'm sorry, okay? This isn't what I wanted.
Supermodel Bella Hadid posted a ton of pics of herself crying to Instagram and said that she has cried almost every day and every night for the last few years. And no, it's not because she didn't own any designer clothes until she graduated high school.
Is your life just terrible? I know how that feels.
First of all, I don't understand taking pictures of yourself when you're crying. Second of all, I am a crier, and I cry a lot. But crying every day and every night definitely seems out of the norm, for sure. She talked about mental health in the caption, and I know that she has battled depression and anxiety for a long time and encouraged people to reach out to professionals for help if they struggle too, which I think is great. I don't have a problem with the message. I'm just saying, am I the only one that's constantly seeing teen girls, for example, post a picture of themselves crying? It's become a trend for sure. Maybe I'm coming across as too harsh, but it seems attention-seeking when you do that. I'm just saying.
Boy, here we go.
Real Housewives of New Jersey star Teresa Giudice, I've always said Giudice, by the way, even though some of you pronounce it Giudice, has gotten a nose job, and I'm wrecked over it.
I got your nose.
Give it back. Give them all back.
I always thought Teresa was one of the prettiest housewives because she's so unique looking, you know? I love that her eyes are farther apart, her nose was a little wider, but I felt like it fit her face. So she went from this to this. And now I feel like all the things that I've loved about her face that were just so beautiful and unique are gone.
Well, I had bad plastic surgery.
And I'm not an anti-plastic surgery person, by the way, by any stretch of the imagination. I'm very okay with it. I get fillers and stuff. I just think sometimes it can take away from natural beauty, like in her case, or you know who else? Heidi Montag. Those are two celebrities I wish wouldn't have touched their faces. Who are some other ones that you can think of?
I've never had surgery.
Not ever? Like, say, up around here?
No.
I have 3 major headlines that have to do with TV today. First of all, we're getting a Squid Game season 2. I'm just depressed because so many of the characters that I love so much are dead. Or are they?
And who knows? Like, are we, like, die, right?
We die?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
Carol Baskin says she had to join a support group for traumatized celebrities after Tiger King. I'm sorry, who died and made her a celebrity? Don't answer that. Who else do you think is in their little support group? Here's a guess. If you know, you know. And lastly, NBC won't say if they'll acknowledge human rights atrocities in China during the Beijing Winter Olympics.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Come on, you knew the Freak of the Week was gonna be Spotify, didn't you?
I said certified freak. 7 days a week.
Yes, Spotify is the Freak of the Week after taking down episode 2 of The Spillover with Abigail Schreier, where we exposed how the trans industry preys on teen girls who are not even trans. They sent me an email saying that it went against their terms and conditions, and then I posted about it. The story blew up. You guys were amazing. You were emailing, DMing, tagging Spotify, demanding an explanation, and finally, after a couple hours, they started responding to you and saying that it was a glitch, and then they sent me an email saying it was removed in an error. Yeah, you and I both know that these glitches and errors somehow only happen to conservatives.
How convenient is that? Wow, how convenient is
dead. They wouldn't be scared if the Spillover wasn't performing phenomenally, which it is. Today's episode that just came out is with former Navy SEAL Robert J. O'Neill, who killed Osama Bin Laden. He goes through every detail of that day, and it was one of the most fun interviews by far. You will laugh out loud at some moments, you will be on the edge of your seat for others, and you will get goosebumps. You know, all the things that make an interview fantastic. It was important to me to get a real military hero for Veterans Day, and this is an episode that everyone in your life will love, regardless of political affiliation. Huge thank you to all of our cute conservative and dude-servative veterans and their spouses. We can never possibly say thank you enough. Oh my gosh! You can find that interview with Robert O'Neill on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Search for The Spillover, subscribe, and then when you're done listening, leave that 5-star review. It helps people in charge see that you are loving the show, and it encourages them to give us even more of the support that we need. Heart this politics episode as well. How do you feel about that new Lucille Ball movie with Nicole Kidman? Are you a fan of Teresa Giudice before or after her nose job? And do you think posting selfies of yourself crying is weird or okay? DM this episode to one of your Bravo BFFs and tap the save button. We're back Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Politics. Support Politics, the first ever conservative pop culture daily show, by subscribing to our channel, turning on notifications, and of course, hitting the thumbs up. Also, our main home is on Instagram. Seriously, just trust me, that's when the real magic happens. Follow us there at Politics.